A very, very warm welcome to all of you, and my apologies that because of my health, the classes in relation to the TDS topic got delayed, which is basically chapter 7 of TDS TCS Advanced Tax. The last segment got delayed. I got some infection and the recovery got very delayed. Even today, I'm not up to the mark, but I'll try my best because you people have shown up on a Sunday morning. I'll try my best that I can deliver the lecture right and complete the topic, and we can have a discussion on your queries also. So sorry for the delays of 10 days. I hope in the previous class what we did, or up till the previous class what we did, you are able to revise. If there are any doubts, please, we can start taking up, and then we'll start with our part today, which is a lot of things to do. So I again welcome you all, and let's begin. Ajay, I would love to, but sadly I cannot. So sorry. And thank you so much, everyone, to show up on a Sunday morning. Thank you, Parth, Madhav. Good morning. Tumpa, Ajay, very, very good morning. Hardik, Shreyas, Akram, Ibrahim, Ekta, Neha, Nidad, Tanveer. Very, very good morning, everyone. So start kare. Perfect. So up till now, we almost covered all the TDS related sections. There's just one section left, which is section 194N. So we'll start with section 194N right now. In case you need a time to settle down, please settle in. Yes, Sri Ram Harshvardhan. It's very good to see this enthusiasm early in the morning also. So great, great, very nice. कोई डाउट नहीं है. Very nice. So guys, अभी तक आपने what you studied when we were talking about TDS, that you studied about person making a payment, X person to a Y person. Y person has that income. So Y would receive, suppose the due amount is 1 lakh, he would receive after the deduction of tax certain amount, which is say at a 10, suppose the tax is deducted at 10%, so he'll receive 90,000 and 10,000 goes to the government on his behalf. And who does all the compliance? X the deductor does all the compliances, correct? So X the deductor ke liye expenses while 1 lakh only, but how the cash outflow happens, 90,000 goes to Y's account and 10,000 goes to government's account on behalf of Y. We have said it again and again that in no case we will not say that the income of Y is 90,000. The income of Y remains to be 1 lakh, and here the expense of X remains to be 1 lakh. So this clarity has to have to be very, very important. So can I say, again, this is a miscellaneous provision which we'll cover later. Can I say that the tax which is deducted is also an income? We cannot say the tax which is deducted is not income. Correct? We can conclude that. But one such section is there, which we are now starting, section 194N, where the tax which is deducted would not be concluded to be the income of the deductee. It will not be concluded to be the income of the deductee. Why? Because this is not on any payment or an income, it is on a cash withdrawal. Which section? Section 194N. So here, rather than a payer and a pay, because यहाँ पे payment नहीं हो रहा, यहाँ पे cash withdraw हो रहा है, and that's why on that particular segment TDS is there. Guys, whatever the new TDS sections are, new TDS sections I'll say with uh corresponding to after 194O, N, Q, you will see at the final stage there are a lot of new sections, 194R, 194S. All of these new sections are basically to cover up the changing times. Matlab, how the times are changing to cover up those times, like influencers के लिए 194R is there, e-commerce के लिए 194O is there. Similarly, 194N was introduced to discourage cash economy, to discourage cash transaction. So 194N is a TDS which gets applied on cash withdrawal. A withdrawal hai, so that means it will not be between you and me, it would be from bank. So who would be the deductor? यहाँ से आप withdraw कर रहे हो, they would deduct it. A banking company, a cooperative bank, or a post office. So who would be the deductor? These three people, not you and me, but these people, because we'll be withdrawing from there. And who would be the deductee? Any person. Deductee would be any person, whether resident or non-resident. They will deduct tax. Who will deduct tax? When I'm withdrawing. When I'm withdrawing a huge amount. Huge amount से मतलब है, guys, more than 1 crore. So the threshold limit here is more than 1 crore. जैसे cash withdrawal exceeds more than 1 crore, exceeds 1 crore, the TDS would be deducted at the rate of 2% on excess only, on excess. So this is one such section where TDS gets deducted only on excess amount. So suppose it's 1 crore 10 lakhs, so 10 lakhs पे deduct होगा. अभी तक whichever sections which we were doing, the moment the threshold limit crosses, we used to deduct tax on the entire amount. But this section may you have to deduct the tax on the excess amount. When the cash withdrawal exceeds 1 crore. Now the question comes from cash withdrawal from saving, from current, from what? All accounts with that particular bank, all accounts with that particular post office or a cooperative bank. उस particular person का उन accounts में से aggregate cash withdrawal with a particular bank when exceeds 1 crore, they will deduct tax at the rate of 2%. Any doubt? So this limit has been increased to 3 crores with effect from the current financial year for cooperative societies. So if cooperative societies are recipient, then if you withdraw more than 3 crores, then they will deduct the tax. Obviously, why this thing is done? Because obviously to discourage the cash withdrawal transactions. कोई doubt, guys? Okay. एक provision यहाँ पे which is different from all the provisions is a provision for non-filer of returns. Is a provision for non-filer of returns. अब ये क्या है? Think about it. A person is not filing the returns, okay? He's not filing the returns and he's withdrawing so much of cash. 1 crore is a huge amount, right? Why is he withdrawing so much of cash and still he's not filing the return? So government came up with another discouragement trick which says that if a person is a non-filer, आप इसे ऐसे याद करोगे, non-filer मतलब जिसने return file नहीं किया, the person who has not filed the return for what year? For the last 3 years. अब मैम last 3 years कौन से हुए? So suppose if I'm talking about cash deduction in financial year 23-24, ठीक है? अब cash deduction in financial year 23-24, 23-24 का तो return he cannot file because the due date has not happened. And also previous year 22-23 का भी अभी time नहीं आया होगा, maybe because the timeline for filing the return for previous year 22-23 would be 31st July 23. What if I'm withdrawing before that? Correct. So this year is also not relevant. The year which are relevant are for financial year 23-24 would be previous year 21-22, 2021, and 19-20. So if the person has not filed the return for these 3 years in total, and he's withdrawing so much of cash in financial year 23-24, he would be termed as non-filer. अब you will ask कि मैम बैंक को कैसे पता चलेगा the person is non-filer? He has his PAN number. एक यूटिलिटी है, यूटिलिटी मतलब एक वेबसाइट है where the bank will log in. They will put the PAN number and they will get to know if he's a defaulter or a non-filer for the last 3 years. Okay, so bank will get to know he's a non-filer if the person is non-filer. If the person is non-filer, then what are the repercussions? That instead of 1 crore, the threshold limit is 20 lakhs. That means if the cash is withdrawn more than 20 lakhs, then TDS would be deducted at the rate of 2%. If it is withdrawn more than 20 lakhs and is up to 1 crore. We'll do one question, don't worry. ठीक है एंड अगर वो 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा हो गया देन इट वुड बी 5%. तो सपोज X person is a non-filer. Mr. X is a non-filer. He withdraw total cash from a particular bank of say 45 lakhs. So 25 lakhs pay TDS would be deducted at the rate of 2%. Now suppose you have withdrawn a total cash during the year of 1 crore 10 lakhs. So for 80 lakhs, the TDS would be 2%, which is between 20 to 1 crore. And 1 crore 10 lakhs, I said 10 lakhs pay TDS would be 5%. So let's take it as an example like suppose on 1st July 2023, a person withdraw 10 lakhs. No issue? No issue. Then on 15th August or 15th September, he withdraw 35 lakhs. He's a non-filer. ठीक है टोटल क्यूमुलेटिव कितना हो गया गाइस 45 lakhs 10 plus 35 TDS कितने पे कटेगा 2% at 25 lakhs ठीक है TDS deduct would be 50,000. Then say on 10th or say 11th November he again withdraw 25 lakhs. Cumulative कितना हो गया guys 70. At this transaction the TDS would be deducted at the rate of 2% again of 25 lakhs 50,000. TDS guys obviously यहाँ पे withdrawal पे कटेगा यहाँ पे ड्यू का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है. There is no concept of due, the TDS would be deducted at the time of withdrawal. Then suppose on 28th of December, again he withdraw cash of say 45 lakhs. Now guys, it becomes total 1 crore. Cumulative withdrawal comes to 1 crore 15 lakhs. Correct? How will be the TDS deducted? 2% and 5%, both rate would be there. 30 lakhs पे 2%, 70 and 30, 1 crore होने पे, and 15 lakhs पे 5%. Got it? And then suppose on 16th of February, he again withdraw 30 lakhs again, अब cumulative 145 हो गया. Now this time 30 lakhs पे 5%. This is in case of non-filer. You can note it down if you have any doubt. Madam, यहाँ पे it's not written the person is liable to file the return or not here. They are just saying that if a person is withdrawing so much cash, then he should have been filing the return for so many years. As simple as that. Guys, 194 N में कोई doubt? Shant, where is the doubt? बिकॉज अभी बहुत सारा चीजें हैं, सो प्लीज बी स्पेसिफिक रिगार्डिंग कि कहाँ पे कंफ्यूजन है. We are talking for a non-filer. Non-filer means he has not filed the return for 3 years and he is withdrawing so much of cash. Bank को क्या करना है? For every person who is withdrawing so much of cash, they will put in the number, PAN number of the person. If the person comes as non-filer, they will deduct the tax immediately from 20 lakhs instead of 1 crore. When the person on 28th of December withdraw 45 lakhs, अब वहां पे क्या हुआ? The total cumulative withdrawal in his account came to 1 crore 15 lakhs. ठीक है. And whenever a person is a non-filer, more than 20 lakhs pay TDS rate is 2%. And when you withdraw more than 1 crore, the TDS goes to 5%. So जब तक he withdraw up to 1 crore, that is 70 lakhs last withdrawal था. So that is 30 lakhs pay 2%. And the moment it crossed 1 crore, that is on the next 15 lakhs, 5%. So total TDS here I think would come to 135. एक बार चेक कर लेना. ठीक है. Got it? अब उसके बाद जो भी सब्सिक्वेंट विड्रॉल होंगे, दैट वुड बी टैक्स एट द रेट ऑफ 5%. Ibrahim, we cannot just make a conclusion. We have to see on what cases were there, was he covered under exceptions or not. We get interest on 194 and it will compute on how interest mother यहाँ पे tax deduct हो रहा है. You are making a withdrawal and the tax is getting deducted. Only thing is that this tax deducted would not be an income of a person just like other transactions. This is just a credit which a person will get. इंटरेस्ट आपको मिल रहा है, आप जो मर्जी विड्रॉ करो, आपको पैसा कहीं और से आया, यू आर गेटिंग मनी फ्रॉम एनीवेयर एल्स, यू आर विड्रॉइंग इट, दैट्स इट. इफ इट इज मोर देन 1 करोड़ इन जनरल, टीडीएस वुड बी डिडक्टेड. एंड 1 करोड़ कैश बहुत होता है ड्यूरिंग द ईयर. एंड इफ इट इज मोर देन 20 lakhs in case of non-filers, TDS would be deducted from 20 lakhs itself, or the moment it crossed 20 lakhs itself. Cash withdrawal मतलब cash withdrawal है गुंजन. No transactions or credit entries or from one entry or another. Cash withdrawal. I told you this particular section was introduced to discourage cash transactions. If you will understand why a particular section was introduced, you will get more relatability factor with it. Prashant, TDS you have to check is on the total withdrawal the moment it crosses. Every time a person is going withdrawing 10 lakhs, they will say कि मैम 1 crore से तो ज़्यादा withdraw नहीं हुआ. The aggregate you have to check ना, when the moment it crosses that aggregate amount, the TDS has to be deducted. Simple. Yes, you will get the credit of it. You definitely. Only thing is कि कोई आपको ये नहीं कहेगा कि that this deduction should be your part of your income. No one will say that. You will get a TDS credit of it. Don't worry. All the tax deduction का the person gets the credit. When the TDS is not required, what are the exceptions of section 194N? What are the exceptions of section 194N? सबसे पहले, when the government is withdrawing, no tax is required to be deducted at all. So when the person who is withdrawing is government, no tax is required to be deducted. When the person withdrawing is a banking company or a cooperative bank or a post office, no tax is required to be deducted. When the person who is withdrawing is a correspondent of such banking company, cooperative banks, or your post office, no tax is required to be deducted. Any white label ATM operator. White label ATM operators क्या होते हैं guys? So generally ATMs are operated by bank, but there are third parties who operate ATMs. Operate ATMs matlab they will ensure ki how much cash should be there, at what stage the cash has to be refilled, because bank easily metro cities with they operate ATM, but when it comes to operating ATMs in small towns or villages, so they need some third party help, because वहाँ पे cash ले जाना, cash पहुंचाना, replenishment, to check it, all of those things, there are ATM operators who help. So white label ATM operators are third parties who help in maintaining an ATM, who help in maintaining the ATM. So for them, if they are withdrawing, obviously they might need more cash because they are maintaining the ATM. They are maintaining the ATM, so they would obviously need more cash transactions happening. वो cash निकालेंगे बैंक से, then they will deposit it, etc., etc. So they are covered in exception. So when white label ATM operators are withdrawing from bank, they would not be covered. उसके अलावा गवर्नमेंट ने they have given certain guidelines जहाँ पे they have exempted certain people which are not here in your level, so will not cover. ठीक है? So 194N का question कैसे आएगा? The one which we have covered, or an example like this. Now we move forward to understand certain small critical examples and critical part under your TDS segment. One second. सबसे पहले guys, one such section which I'm covering here is 206AA and 206AB. Very important section. 206AA says ki the deductor has to take the PAN of the deductee. So that means the deductee has to provide the PAN. PAN can be provided through invoice, PAN can be provided through a general communication. Does not matter. The person should have the PAN, because obviously I should know na ki jiska tax I'm deducting, whose person is the person whose tax has to be deducted and his credit has to be given. But the person samne wala might not be interested in giving the PAN. Why he would not be giving the PAN? Because he might be in a fear that my transactions would be exposed of, right? So in that case, to discourage such activity, they said that the person has to provide the PAN. If he will not provide the PAN, you will deduct the tax at the rate mentioned in the section, or 20%. Whichever is higher. So suppose if आपको TDS किसी का काटता है under section 194C and you have to deduct the TDS at the rate of 1%, but that person is not providing the PAN, then you will deduct the tax at the rate of 20%. Got it? PAN is mandatory to be provided. यहाँ पे exception है, which we will see. एक 194Q का exception है, where it is 5%. Which I'll let you know, in 194O, which is not at your level. Okay, next provision is 206AB. Now, this is a very important provision. This is a very recently introduced section. This, please consider understanding this section different from 194N. 194N में भी हमने non-filer पढ़ा. Please try understanding this section different from 194N. Okay. Guys, we are covering miscellaneous provisions, so इसको miscellaneous provisions की तरह का समझ लो. This provision says that if the deductee is a non-filer, in general, 194N हटा दो, again and again I'm saying, that if a deductee is a non-filer in general, he is not filing the income tax return, you have to deduct TDS at a rate which is twice the rate of the section, or 5%, whichever is higher. Twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. For example, I have to deduct your tax under section 194C. Twice the rate would be 2 of the section 194C में 1% or 5% which is higher? Obviously 5% is higher. So I will deduct the tax at 5% if you are a non-filer. अभी यहाँ पे non-filer का क्या मतलब है guys? Non-filer is a specified person. You call that person a specified person who has not filed the return, who has not filed the return for assessment year relevant. I'm writing it slowly, relevant to previous year or relevant to the year immediately preceding the financial year in which tax is required to be deducted. In which tax is required to be deducted and the due date has expired. And the due date has expired. And the tax credit which a person has is 50,000 or more. अब आप बोलोगे कि मैम नहीं समझ आया. Obviously, suppose let's take 194C. I had to deduct a tax of a person, Mr. X. ठीक है? I have to deduct tax at the rate of 1%. I asked his PAN. Fine, he has given me the PAN. But I have to check as a deductor, it is my responsibility to check whether Mr. X is a specified person as per section 206AB or not. I will not, Mr. X, if I ask Mr. X, are you filing the return? He says yes, and I'll say, okay, no. I will put his PAN in, again, the credentials which I have. If the person is a specified person, I will deduct the tax at the rate of 5%. Why? Because twice the rate of 5%, whichever is higher as per 206AB. Now the question says, what is specified person? Specified person is a person who is not filing the return of his income, or I should say, who has not filed the return of his income for the year which is just expired, the timeline of which is just expired during the financial year, or the timeline of which has expired for the financial year, and for that year his TDS TCS credit is 50,000 or more. तो मुझे देखना नहीं है एज अ पर्सन एज अ डिडक्टर आई जस्ट हैव टू सी द पैन एंड आई विल फिल इन वहां पे अगर स्पेसिफाइड पर्सन आया आई विल डिडक्ट द टैक्स फॉर अ हायर अमाउंट बट स्पेसिफाइड पर्सन होता कौन है हु इज अ स्पेसिफाइड पर्सन वो गवर्नमेंट देखेगी गवर्नमेंट वुड अपलोड दैट लिस्ट ऑन 1st of April of every year and when how will government see so government will do suppose government is making the list for financial year 23-24. Okay. Now government will see on 1st April 23 किसने return file नहीं करा. Who has not filed the return? अब 1st April 23 पे obviously previous year 22-23 का तो return filing का time है. Correct? Because that is to be filed by 31st July 23. So government will not pick up the figures of previous year 22-23. Government will pick up that person's का previous year 21-22 का return file नहीं हुआ. ठीक है because उसका timeline has expired as on 1st April 23. So for the previous year 21-22 who has not filed the return and they had TDS credit of 50,000 or more. And they have because who can be a person who has a credit of 50,000 and he has not filed the return? Why is he not filing the return? Obviously, he does not want to give the information. किसी का tax पड़ा हुआ है government के पास of 50,000 and more and he has not filed the return. So those people, they will pick. And government will add those PAN number as on 1st April 2023 in a list of specified person. As a deductor, I only have to check whether that PAN number is in that list or not. If yes, then I have to deduct the tax at a higher rate. If no, then he's a non-defaulter and we do not have to worry about it. Okay, so 206AA and 206AB are two sections which talk about a higher rate of tax. AA when there is no PAN. AB talks about a higher rate, which is twice the rate of 5%, whichever is higher. And here, the person is a specified person. If who is a specified person who has not filed the return and who has TDS credit of more than 50,000 for that year for which he has not filed the return, for which he has not filed the return. But sadly, this has an exception. This section 1206AB you will not check, not applicable for section 192, 194B, which we have not covered, okay, 194 IA, IB, and 194M, 194N. बिकॉज 194N का नॉन फाइलर का अलग सेगमेंट कहते हैं, वहां पे देर इज जस्ट वो 3 years का कंडीशन है, दैट इज डिफरेंट अगेन एंड अगेन, आई एम सेइंग दिस इज इन जनरल, बट section 206 AB would not be checked when you're deducting tax under these sections. There are more sections, but those are not covered at your level, so I'm not writing you. So I do not have to check 194M में अगर मैं किसी का TDS काटूं, I do not have to check the provisions of section 206 AB. If I'm deducting tax of salary, I do not have to check the provisions of section 206 AB because naturally salary pay tax is deducted as per the income. Got it, guys? ऐसे similar sections TCS में भी हैं, which I will not repeat there because they are exactly similar. तो कहीं पे भी confusion है, just let me know. Jagat, what all sections are covered, only those will come. Others are not applicable. Sweta, TDS under section 194N would be calculated the moment it crosses 1 crore. आपने 10-10 लाख withdraw करे, so the moment you will, in cumulative, you will cross 1 crore, the TDS would be deducted. Devraj, 1 crore is the limit in general, but अगर cooperative society withdraw कर रही है तो उनके लिए there is a higher limit benefit है, that is 3 crores. If I am a cooperative society who's withdrawing, they will not deduct the tax until I have withdrawn 3 crores. For all the 3 assessment years, you have not filed the return for 194N. Manish, ध्यान से सोचो. A person has, you don't, as a deductor, see, अगर मैं practical life में बात करूँ, a person does not have to check कि आपने रिटर्न फाइल करी है, कौन सा रिटर्न फाइल करा है या whatever. He just have to put in the PAN. If the person comes as a defaulter, they have to deduct the higher rate. Okay, this is what a deductor has to do. But practically, who would come under that list, that we should know from अंडरस्टैंडिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. ठीक है, अब अंडरस्टैंडिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में सिंपल है, गवर्नमेंट इज अपडेटिंग दैट लिस्ट ऑन 1st of April of every year. So suppose I'm talking about 1st of April of 23, that is for financial year 23-24. They are saying who are the defaulters or who are the non-filer for 206 AB. So they will pick up द रिटर्न डेटा. अब फाइनेंशियल ईयर 23-24 का तो रिटर्न भरने का सेंस नहीं है. प्रीवियस ईयर 22-23 का भी रिटर्न का ड्यू डेट अभी नहीं आया एज ऑन 1st April 23, करेक्ट. सो कौन सा ईयर बचा? प्रीवियस ईयर 21-22. They will pick up the data of previous year 21-22 who has not filed the return and whose TDS credit is more than 50,000. दोनों they will come and put it in the list of defaulter. Simple. गुंजन, अभी TCS कहाँ खत्म हुआ है गाइस? ठीक है. Now, next we move on to another section. बहुत सारे छोटे छोटे मिसलेनियस सेक्शन है. यू विल सी कि मैम ये तो इजी है समझना. यस, डेफिनेटली. Yeah, sorry. उसके बाद एक जनरल सेक्शन है सेक्शन 196 which says in general you will not deduct tax when you're making payment to government, RBI, uh, statutory corporations, mutual funds or new pension trust. So you will not deduct tax. So in general अगर आप कभी भी कोई भी पेमेंट गवर्नमेंट को करते हो by any type of income, you will not deduct tax. ठीक है वैसे they are covered under a lot of exceptions at a lot of place, but in general they have made it through section 196 that you will not deduct tax. Now we come to a section 197 and 197A. ध्यान से सुनना ये section guys. I'll give you time to make chart. Don't worry about it. Section 197 क्या कहता है? This is a section which comes as a remedy, I'll say, or a help to the deductee. Deductee. Who will use this section? The deductee. So you have to think yourself as a deductee now. Now suppose I have losses. I'm filing my return. TDS कटेगा तो what will I will just have to wait for the year to end, then file the return and get the refund. Correct? So because in general my return is of return of loss or I will have no tax to be paid. So I cannot say suppose you have to deduct my tax under 194J. I will not say कि do not deduct my tax because I have losses and you will not believe it, right? It is not like that. What happens is person has an option to get a certificate from the assessing officer. Now, if I have losses, I'm the deductee. I don't want that people should deduct my tax because otherwise I have to just unnecessarily block the money as credit and then wait for the return to file and then get a refund. So, section 197 talks about lower or nil deduction of tax, whereby I will go to the AO. Who will go to the AO? The deductive will go to the AO to tell him that please issue me a certificate which I can give to the deductor, which will say that don't deduct the tax of this person or deduct the tax of the person at a lower rate. A lower rate can be any rate. No, AO determine करेगा on whatever basis he feels like. Suppose he will pick up all the returns of previous year. He will ask me the data for the present year. He will see कि हाँ does not make sense कि इस person का tax deduct करे. So he will issue that certificate. So section 197 gives the power to deductee to go to AO, make an application, and then AO will issue the certificate for particular sections. That certificate I will give to the deductor. कि see, here you have to deduct the tax at so and so rate, not on a section का rate. So he will deduct the tax at a so and so rate. This certificate can be having any rate. It can be like rate of 2.95%. कोई भी rate हो सकता है which AO determines. Which AO determines. Simple. Another section is section 197A. This is a section which works on self-declaration. Self-declaration to whom? To deductor. Why this section got introduced? Yes, there are a lot of people who have income through a certain way. Suppose they have income just because of rent. Suppose they have income just because of FD interest. Uh, उनके लिए क्या होता है? They have no other source of income, right? And 10% of tax is getting deducted on it, which is a huge amount. किसी का income में अगर only rent है and उस पे 10% is getting deducted, it's a huge amount and I have no other incomes and I just rely on rent to come. Suppose I take rent from someone of say 25,000 per month, but they will deduct tax on it because it is crossing 2,40,000 per month of per annum. So, which I feel कि it would is wrong. So, government came up with a concept of self-declaration to deductor. That deductee would give a self-declaration. कि I don't have gross total income of more than 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs as the case may be, and I don't have any other tax liability also, so don't deduct tax. So don't deduct tax. It's just a declaration a person gives. This declaration is given under section 197A. But not this declaration is different. Different in the sense means you will use different form. A person who is not a senior citizen will use a declaration in Form 15G. A person who is a senior citizen will give a declaration in Form 15H. Form 15G, Form 15H. This is for senior citizen. This is for other than senior citizen. ठीक है, simple. किसको कौन declaration देगा? I as a deductee would give a declaration. You don't deduct my tax in Form 15G, 15H. There's a specific form, you can download it. You have to give a declaration and the deductor has to take that and record, tell to the government that this form is issued. ठीक है? But ये सारे sections पे applicable नहीं है. This is not applicable on all sections. In your case, it is applicable under 193, 194A, 194D, D भी नहीं है आपके केस में, sorry, 194I. That's it. So that means if my tax is getting deducted in these sections, then only I will give a declaration under 197A to deductor. Suppose सबसे common होता है senior citizen filing 15H with bank. They don't want कि on their FD or on their RD interest is getting tax deductible. So वो बहुत ज़्यादा it gets common that they give 197A में declaration under form 15H to bank so that their TDS is not deducted under 194A. मैं 192 अगर मेरा टैक्स डिडक्ट करता है तो आई विल नॉट गिव दैट डिक्लेरेशन. आई कैन ओनली गिव द डिक्लेरेशन इन दीज पर्टिकुलर सेक्शंस. ओके, नाउ द क्वेश्चन कम्स कि मैम 15H एंड 15G में आपने बता दिया. वन इज फॉर सीनियर सिटीजन, 15G इज फॉर 15H is for senior citizen, 15G is for non-senior citizen. Is there any other difference? Yes. In one important difference is that a senior citizen can file this form if his tax liability is nil. Tax liability is nil मतलब उनका income चाहे more than basic exemption limit हो, but then they have deductions and then they have 87A का relief. Final tax liability is coming nil, then they can file this declaration. But a non-senior citizen can file this declaration only if the income which we are talking about under these particular section is less than basic exemption limit. यहाँ पे थोड़ा हार्ड लाइंस है बिकॉज सीनियर सिटीजन के लिए रिलैक्सेशन है. यहाँ पे थोड़ा हार्ड लाइंस है कि इनकम शुड बी लेस देन बेसिक एग्जेम्पशन लिमिट. तो हम बोलो मतलब, तो अगर सपोज मिस्टर एक्स इज अ नॉन सीनियर सिटीजन, ठीक है, he has an income of interest under section 194A of 3,50,000. Okay, and he has 80D ka deduction of 50,000, 80C ka deduction of 70, or say another 50,000 or 1 lakh say. So you will say कि मैम इसका तो income is getting below basic exemption limit. Yes, not the gross income, but the net income is getting below basic exemption limit. Tax liability nahi hai, so he can file from 15G. I will say no. This is not the point. Point is the income for which you're filing form 15G should be less than basic exemption limit, which is not in this case. So he cannot file 15G. He cannot file 15G even if he has no taxable income, even if there would be no tax, even if he has deductions which can help him, but still he cannot file 15G. But suppose Mr. X is now a senior citizen. In this case, very much he is allowed to file Form 15H. Why? Because the tax liability is nil. अब 350 है, 50,000 का डिडक्शन मिल जाएगा, 1 लाख का डिडक्शन मिल जाएगा. Naturally, income is coming less than 2,50,000 or less than basic exemption limit. Naturally, there is no tax liability. He can definitely file 15H. So this is the major important difference. Here, the income for which you are filing Form 15G should be less than basic exemption limit. सिंपल, चाहे आपका एक्चुअली में बेसिक एग्जामिशन लिमिट से कम है या नहीं, डज नॉट मैटर. द इनकम शुड बी लेस देन बेसिक एग्जामिशन लिमिट. But for a senior citizen, it does not matter. Senior citizen के लिए the tax liability should be nil after 87A rebate, after gross deductions, etc. Got it? Guys, कोई doubt? जो जो sections लिखे हैं खाली उसी के लिए देवराज this particular form can be filed. बहुत लोगों को क्लैरिटी नहीं आती अगेन कि ओ 15G क्या है, 15H क्या है, डिफरेंस क्या है. एंड आई होप विद टुडेज क्लास यू विल बी वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट इन टेकिंग अप. मे बी एग्जाम में might not come, but this is something which you will be using in practical life from day one. And you should suggest now to the people to file such declaration. Okay. Last of the leg of miscellaneous sections. Other return filing timelines. TDS के लिए भी है, TCS के लिए भी है. TCS के लिए मैं बाद में बता दूंगी यहीं पे फिल करके, ठीक है. ध्यान से सुनना guys. The TDS has to be deposited every month. Deduction कब होना है? Time of deduction is given for each section, which we now know. At some places it is credit or payment, whichever is earlier. At some places it is payment. At some places it is withdrawal, just in case of 194N. TDS has to be deposited for the month of April to February. If I talk about the deduction has happened between April to February, 7th of next month. So suppose I've deducted tax today, I have to deposit it by 7th February. If I've deducted tax on say 30th of April, I have to deposit it by 7th of May. All the cumulative tax which a deductor deducts during a month has to be deposited by 7th of next month. If it is deducted between April to February, if it is deducted in the month of March, there is a lot of time. You have to deposit it by 30th of April because books gets closed, etc., etc. 30th of April. TCS में नहीं होता, TCS में 7th ही रहता है. Okay. Then you have to file the return. Return has to be filed every quarter. April to June, June to July, July to September, October to December, and January to March. Every quarter, the return has to be filed. That is to be filed by 31st July, 31st October, and 31st January, and 31st of May. If you will make any default in filing the return, 200 per day का फीस है अंडर 234E. पेनल्टी भी है. आई थिंक दैट इज नॉट एट योर लेवल. ओके. So you have to be very quick in depositing, deducting, depositing, and filing the return. अब suppose you do not file the return, यहाँ पे तो I gave you कि there is a fee of 200 per day. Suppose if you make any default in late deduction or late deposit. Late deduction मतलब आपको deduct करना था on a particular date, you deducted tax on a X date. Late deposit means that you had to deduct tax and deposit it by 7th of February or by 7th of the next month, but you did not deposit it timely. Late deduction matlab you deduct it late. Late deposit means you deduct it timely or late, it does not matter, but you deposited late. So इस case में there is interest repercussions. Interest repercussions आ जाता है, and the person who was the deductor is called as assessee in default. Is called as assessee in default. Assessee in default. Section 201. The person who does not deduct tax or who deduct tax late or does not deposit tax becomes assessee in default. अब assessee in default है, कब वो नहीं रहेगा assessee in default? Suppose I had to deduct tax, I did not deduct the tax, okay? Or I deducted the tax, I did not deposit the tax. I am assessee in default. I am the person who did default. But suppose I had to deduct your tax. And you as a deductee tell me, अच्छा आपने tax नहीं deduct किया, I have deposited the tax as advance tax, or I have deposited the tax, I have filed my return, I've taken the income in account, and you give me a certificate. कि see, ultimately government को क्या चाहिए? Government को चाहिए tax and government को चाहिए information, right? You as a deductee tell me कि Baba, don't worry, I have shown it in my return of income, whatever the transaction happened between us, I've shown it in return of income, I've paid tax on it, I've filed my return, so don't worry, and you give me a certificate from CA that everything is done. Then I will not be an assessee in default. Then I will not be an assessee in default. This is what section 201 says. कब? जब deductee आके एक assurance दे कि हाँ, I have done all the task, I have given the return information and etc. etc. But अगर वो ना करे, you or till that time you will be an assessee in default. अब late deduction and late deposit है, there are interest repercussions also. Interest repercussions क्या है? Let's see. Interest repercussions are simple. When there is late deduction, the interest is applicable at the rate of 1% per month or part of the month. When there is late deposit, deposit मतलब आपने पैसा ले लिया and government को पैसा नहीं दिया. Then there is interest at the rate of 1.5% per month or part of the month. मतलब अगर एक महीना 5 days का भी डिले है, 1 month 5 days का भी डिले है, interest would be applicable for 2 months. Similarly, deduction may be and deposit may be. Even if the delay is by just day, it would be considered as full month. Now, here, if you will see the case, the date of transaction is 1st August 2023. The date of payment is 3rd September 2023. TDS amount है 45,000 का. 1% किस पे लगेगा? TDS amount. ठीक है? Now, what is the time of deduction practically? Suppose it's due or payment, whichever is earlier. So you will say कि 1st August 2023. But the person actually deducted back on 31st of December 2023. So यहाँ पे late deduction है. Guys, late deduction है? Yes है. कितना late deduction है? From 1st August 2023 to 31st December 2023. यहाँ पे you will see कि this is a late deduction of 5 months. So मैंने TDS लगा दिया at 45,000 for 1% for 5 months. ठीक है? Now, actually मैं deposit कब कराया? On 2nd March 2024. See, generally guys, the timeline is 7th of the next month. I agree. But when it is a late deduction case, it is said that you should deposit it at that date itself. Otherwise, interest लग जाएगा from the date of deduction to the date of deposit. So 31st of December 2023 to 2nd March 2024, part of the month मिला के 3 months आ रहे हैं. So now 45,000 पे 1.5% at 3 for 3 months would be the interest for late deposit. So the total interest of late deduction and late deposit comes to 4275 under section 2011A. Again, I'll repeat. Late deduction है 1% per month or part of the month. Late deposit है 1.5% per month or part of the month. बट लेट डिपॉजिट के केस में ऐसा नहीं होगा कि अगर लेट डिडक्शन हुआ तो वो 7th ऑफ द नेक्स्ट मंथ से टाइम स्टार्ट होगा, नहीं. डिडक्शन लेट डिपॉजिट जब भी होगा, डिडक्शन से डिपॉजिट तक का टाइम पीरियड स्टार्ट हो जाएगा, नॉट फ्रॉम 7th. अगेन आई एम रिपीटिंग, नॉट फ्रॉम 7th. 7th का टाइम लाइन इज ओनली व्हेन यू आर डिपॉजिटिंग इट्स टाइमली. ठीक है. तो डिडक्शन की डेट से डिपॉजिट का डेट लेट डिपॉजिट के लिए, एंड एक्चुअल डिडक्शन की डेट शुड बी डिडक्शन की डेट से एक्चुअल डिडक्शन फॉर लेट डिडक्शन. ठीक है. सिमिलरली पिकअप the other transaction which you can see on the screen and solve it once. And if you have any doubt, please ask. ऐसा क्वेश्चन आ सकता है बिकॉज ये इसी लेवल पे चेक होता है, लेट डिडक्शन एंड लेट डिपॉजिट में. शुड बी डेट ऑफ डिडक्शन टिल एक्चुअल डेट ऑफ डिडक्शन 1% लेट डिडक्शन का, एंड लेट डिपॉजिट का एक्चुअल डिडक्शन से टिल डेट ऑफ डिपॉजिट. So it is, इसलिए it is advisable if you're making a late deduction, deposit the tax on that particular date itself, because otherwise late interest उसका भी लग जाएगा. कौन पे करेगा? डिडक्टर पे करेगा इंटरेस्ट. माधव, डेफिनेटली बहुत सारे सेक्शंस हैं फॉर 197. I only wrote the sections which we have taught, which we have studied. ऋतुराज, अगर आपका 30% है, the person has not deposited, given you the PAN, you will deduct the tax 20%, and you will वहाँ पे when you will be filing the return, you will say tax of 20% for so and so for so and so transaction, PAN not available. आप पे ऑप्शन आता है. हरीश, अगर उसी दिन लेट डिडक्शन वाले दिन ही डिपॉजिट करा दिए, नो लेट डिपॉजिट का इंटरेस्ट. ठीक है. दिस इज ऑल फॉर द provisions of TDS, miscellaneous provisions, and the concept of TDS. I'm not going anywhere. Take 1 minute relief break, 1 minute का time लो. Go through करो कोई provision है, go through करो कोई doubt है. I'm here only, and we'll start with TCS. आज we will cover TCS and then we will take the break. So अभी just take a 1 minute breather and tell if there is any doubt. ले लो time. कोई भी doubt है please पूछो. Tips to remember: make self notes, make chart, take that chart, stick it on a wall, and remember आते जाते always check that chart. लेट फाइलिंग ऑफ टीडीएस रिटर्न के लिए बाबा फीस लगती है एंड पेनल्टी लगती है. इंटरेस्ट इज ऑन लेट डिडक्शन एंड डिपॉजिट. Interest, simple है ना Rito? Interest government takes when you have their money kept with you. February से 31st March शनि 2 months हो गया 1.5%, 82,000 का. यहाँ पे सॉरी सेक्शंस भी थे, सेक्शंस मिस हो गए. आई एम सॉरी 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 सर, इसलिए कंफ्यूजन हो गई. 194B में डेट ऑफ डिडक्शन इज द डेट ऑफ पेमेंट, इसलिए वो मिस हो गया. आई एम सो सॉरी. बी आपका कवर नहीं हुआ तो यू कैन इग्नोर बी फॉर द टाइम बिंग. ठीक है. गवर्नमेंट को कोई लेना देना नहीं है. गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स मिल गया. कोई ऐसा पर्सन है, ही डज नॉट वांट टू टेल व्हाट इज हिज इनकम. गवर्नमेंट गॉट टैक्स एट 20%. व्हाट गवर्नमेंट वांट्स, सिंपल, गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स मिल गया 20% पे. अदरवाइज अगर पर्सन हैज फाइल्ड द रिटर्न तो वो 30% देता. तो गवर्नमेंट को 20% मिल गया. गवर्नमेंट हैज नो प्रॉब्लम. ठीक है. टीसीएस स्टार्ट करें. सबको हो गया, क्लैरिटी आ गया. टीडीएस के ऐसे प्रोविजंस एंड टीसीएस में भी सेम प्रोविजन है. इफ आई डू नॉट इवन पिक अप, I know you people are that smart that you will be able to take up. हाँ, डेट ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन अब ड्यू डेट ले लो सर. जनवरी एंड फेब्रवरी 2 months का आ गया ना बाबा. 1,47,000 पे 1%. ओहो, 24 क्यों नहीं हुआ? सॉरी गाइस. यहाँ पे देख लो ना, डेट ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन है, ये 24 होना चाहिए. टाइपो हो गया, टाइपो. टाइपो था गाइस. ठीक है. सॉरी. Now we proceed to understand the provisions of TCS. TCS के लिए let's have a clean slate with us. Okay guys, चलिए पक्का. Yes, it is considered full month. ये एग्जाम्पल आराम से स्क्रीन पॉज करके यू कैन नोट ऑल्सो, बिकॉज आई थिंक बुक में 201 का इलिस्ट्रेशन नहीं है. यू कैन टेक इट अप. आप टीसीएस समझेंगे, बहुत क्लैरिटी आएगा, बहुत मजा आएगा टीसीएस को. इसको बार बार विल से अब as tax collection at source, collection at source, collection at source, collection. Who does the collection? यहाँ पे guys income aspect नहीं है. यहाँ पे TCS is a something which is applicable on transactions. might not necessarily be an income of a person. It can be expenditure. कोई financial transactions है, वहाँ पे TCS is captured. Because again, to point, TDS was introduced much, much, much before, and TCS is something which is 20, 30 years old concept only. It was done to cover unorganized segment, some particular transactions from which a government can get information. Okay, so TCS मतलब tax collection at source, मतलब जो person would be collecting money would be collecting tax, collecting money, collecting tax. Again and again, collecting money, collecting tax. For example, let me give an example of a transaction happening between a buyer and seller. Suppose a person, Mr. X and Mr. Y. Mr. X sells goods to Mr. Y. Mr. Y is a buyer. Who will make the payment? Mr. Y will make the payment. Who will make the payment? Mr. Y. So यहाँ पे money आएगा. Mr. X will collect it. Now, if on that particular transaction a TCS is applicable, where there is a payment and income, a payment of a transaction or collection of an income is happening or collection of money is happening, I say, and TCS is applicable, the person who has to collect that money will collect an additional percentage along with it, will select an additional percentage along with it. Suppose 1%. For example, a person sold goods of 1 lakh rupees. Now he will collect 1 lakh. Naturally, आपको मैंने 1 lakh का goods बेचा, you will give me 1 lakh rupees. But if TCS is applicable, along with 1 lakh, I will take, suppose 1% rate is applicable. I will take 1,000 rupees from you if TCS is applicable, and I will total collect 1 lakh 1,000 from you. So Mr. Y would now, along with 1 lakh, will pay 1,000. So Y के लिए purchase कितने का हुआ guys? 1 lakh का. X के लिए sale कितने का हुआ? 1 lakh का. Now what about just 1,000? 1,000 Y gained from his own pocket additional amount. This 1,000 is TCS credit for Y. He's paying it to whom? He's paying it to X. This 1,000. X will collect this 1,000 from Y and give it to the government on behalf of Y. X की जेब से कुछ extra नहीं गया. X के pocket से कुछ extra नहीं गया. X collected that money and now he will give it to the government. So X is the collector and Y is the collectee. X is the collector and Y is the collectee. 1,000 TCS payable होगा, which he will deposit to the government, and government को deposit करना है. तो अब यहाँ पे X को क्या लेना है? Y का PAN, कि हाँ ये 1,000 is for Y. It belongs to Y. I have collect. You told me to collect. I collected it. Now it is your credit, Y's credit, and I am over. So who has all the compliances of TCS to do? The collector. The collector, in this case, Mr. X. What are his duties? He will first collect the tax. Similarly, he will deposit that tax. Similarly, after collecting, depositing, he will file the TCS return to tell to the government कि ये जो 1,000 है ये इस person के है, and he will issue the certificate to Y कि हाँ जो आपसे 1,000 लिया था मैंने वो मैंने government को दे दिया. So Mr. X is the person on whom all the compliance burden is. He has to do all these compliances of TCS through TAN number. Through TAN number. Okay, and Y has to give his PAN when he's giving that additional 1,000 rupees. obviously he would give his PAN now because he's giving that additional amount. He will give his PAN also. So this is the concept of TCS mechanism. यहाँ पे we will not necessarily focus कि हाँ 1000 income है 1000 expense है नहीं. एक additional sum है which a person is paying from his pocket. Additional sum he is paying from his pocket and the person who is collecting it has a liability to deposit it to the government on his name. Got it, guys? कोई TCS mechanism में कोई doubt? Why माधव अभी एग्जाम्पल्स में आएंगे जहाँ पे एक्सेप्शन होगा कि गवर्नमेंट से नहीं लेना. टैक्स कलेक्शन एट सोर्स. वाई को देना पड़ेगा 1000 नहीं तो वो उसका क्रेडिटर में रहेगा. वी हैव टू पे. जब बिल आएगा ना मिस्टर एक्स की तरफ से, मिस्टर एक्स की तरफ से जब सेल का बिल आएगा, so it will have all the components. अगर कोई पर्सन है जिसको टीसीएस कलेक्ट करना है तो उसका बिल देखना कभी. इट विल हैव टैक्सेबल वैल्यू, इट विल हैव जीएसटी अमाउंट, it will have plus TCS and then final due amount would be there. वैसे guys TCS along with GST value पे लगता है. Some people do not apply TCS along with GST value, but government says TCS is applicable along with GST value. TDS में उल्टा होता था. TDS में you did not uh, apply the rate on the GST component, only on the main component or the service component used to apply. But here TCS में it is tax collection at source, which is happening on the total collection. It is applicable on the GST amount also. So अगर वो 1,18,000 है, total ये TCS would be 1180 technically, but बहुत लोग आज की डेट में भी 1000 लगाते हैं. That is their call to take. तो ये फाइनल अमाउंट पेबल आएगा ऑन द इनवॉइस इटसेल्फ. Not on all transactions, we'll come to it, don't worry. निरुदा पहले टीसीएस समझो तो सही, तभी डिफरेंस पे आओगे ना. कम डिफरेंस कैसे बता दूं फर्स्ट स्टेप से पहले. अंडरस्टैंड इट. संतोष, एनी डाउट? Not necessarily income. These are transactions. Because the segment कुछ organized है, government wants to know the information about it. इसलिए such transactions. अब guys, जैसे ईडीएस के लिए you have sections from 192 to 194N हमने देखा, राइट. अलग अलग सेक्शन में अलग अलग टाइप का पेमेंट है. टीसीएस में ऐसा नहीं. टीसीएस में एक ही सेक्शन है 206C 206C जहाँ पे वेरियस सबसेक्शंस, सबसेक्शन 1 206C सबसेक्शन 1C 206C subsection 1F covers different types of transactions on which TCS is covered. So सारे different subsections है सब 206C का पार्ट, बट सबसेक्शंस अलग अलग है. ठीक है, TCS के लिए अलग अलग सेक्शंस है, यहाँ पे different subsections है to cover different types of TCS transactions. यहाँ पे भी guys advisably you have to make a chart like section, transaction, who is the collector, who is the collectee, rate, time of collection, threshold limit, and other point. सबसे पहले this section was introduced for certain types of purchase and sale of certain goods. So section 206C subsection 1 was introduced as a first transaction on which TCS would be covered. उसमें सिर्फ certain goods थी जिस पे TCS applicable हुआ था. देन इवेंचुअली गवर्नमेंट को टीसीएस बहुत अट्रैक्टिव रूट लगा कि किसी से एक्स्ट्रा मनी ले लो उनका टैक्स कह के एंड देन गेट इट get that money and give that credit. So government now over the past couple of years has expanded TCS like anything. So let's begin. First section under TCS. Let's start, guys. से पहला section 206C subsection 1 is on sale of certain goods. सबसे पहला subsection 206C subsection 1 sale of certain goods. So TCS was introduced with this particular subsection whereby on handful of sale and purchase of goods TCS was applicable. कौन सा? Liquor, tendulis, liquor, tendulis, timber, timber from forest leaves, timber from any mode, timber from any other forest produce, and scrap and mineral ores or coal or lignite or iron ore. So TCS got applicable on liquor, tendulis, timber forest produce, मैं एक ही लिख रही हूँ, scrap and mineral ore lignite ore. ठीक है, ये 5 ट्रांजैक्शन, जब 5 गुड्स का ट्रांजैक्शन होगा only then TCS was applicable. रेट क्या था गाइस? रेट इज 1% in case of liquor, तेंदुलीज के लिए 5%. तेंदुलीज क्या होता है? बीड़ी, बीड़ी का लीव्स होते हैं ना, दैट इज कॉल्ड तेंदुलीज. टिम्बर फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूस के लिए 2.5%, स्क्रैप के लिए 1% एंड मिनरल ओर के लिए 1%. सो अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो गाइस, इन सारे सेगमेंट में इफ यू थिंक इन अ लॉन्ग रन, द बायर्स आर वेरी वेरी स्मॉल प्लेयर्स. दे कैन बी कबाड़ीज, दे कैन बी स्मॉल प्लेयर्स, एनीवन. सो इसलिए TCS was applicable that if they're dealing into such transactions, certain amount should be collected from them. Certain amount should be collected from them. That's it. So यहाँ पे the seller would collect, the collector would collect 1% from the buyer of such goods. Liquor, tendulis, timber forest produce, scrap, mineral ores, etc. So who is the collector? The seller. Who's the collector? The seller. Among any seller, you, me, if we are selling liquor, tendulis, forest produce, scrap, etc. Yes, any seller except individual and HF. यहाँ पे सेम कॉन्सेप्ट आएगा बिकॉज compliances are a lot when we talk about TDS also. इसलिए बहुत सारे provisions में individuals HF को they removed. Similarly, यहाँ पे भी a lot of provisions individuals HF have been removed, but only who individuals and HF would be covered? Who in the preceding year? Same guys, have a turnover of what more than 1 crore in case of business or gross receipts of more than 50 lakhs in case of profession. तभी तभी वो कलेक्टर बनेंगे. क्यों? अगेन कंप्लायंसेस बहुत ज्यादा है तो सब पे नहीं आएंगे. ओनली इंडिविजुअल एंड एचयूएफ हु इन द प्रीसीडिंग ईयर had a turnover of more than 1 crore or gross receipts of more than 50 lakh, then only they would be the eligible collector as a seller. ठीक है. Buyer, any person. Buyer मतलब यहाँ पे any person, किसी भी person से they मतलब any person who is buying all these goods from the particular seller they have to pay TCS. But you must be thinking, ma'am, when we go and take liquor, we are not paying TCS. Correct. Exceptions are any person who is buying such goods for personal consumptions is excluded. पर्सनल कंजम्पशन इज एक्सक्लूडेड मतलब वो बायर है तभी आप सोचो कि आप जब लिकर लेने जाते हो इवन फ्रॉम अ ठेका और फ्रॉम अ रेस्टोरेंट TCS is not collected from you. Why? Because personal exemption consumption के लिए if you're buying such goods, you are excluded. Government is excluded. PSU is excluded. Central government is excluded. High Commission is excluded. And clubs are excluded for 206C subsection 1. यहाँ पे कोई थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट नहीं है गाइस इवन इफ आई एम परचेजिंग फ्रॉम यू फॉर 1000 rupees you are an eligible collector you will collect 1000 पे 1% as TCS from me provided I'm not using it for personal consumption. बट यहाँ पे ना एक बहुत एक्सेप्शन आई विल नॉट से बट एक अलग प्रोविजन डाल दिया that if a person who is a buyer gives a declaration that I am purchasing that good for further manufacturing. Then no TCS would be collected. No tax at source or no tax collection at source would happen. When a buyer is giving a declaration that I am using this good for further manufacturing, then the seller will not collect the TCS. Ma'am, for example, liquor का बात करते हैं. If you are a liquor producer, I am a liquor trader. I am purchasing liquor from you. You will collect TCS. But suppose you're a liquor producer, I am purchasing liquor from you for sanitizer. Alcohol use होता है sanitizer में for sanitizer production. So I give you a declaration that I will be using this liquor for sanitizer production. Then you will not collect TCS. And obviously, if I'm using it for personal consumption, then TCS is not collected. Got it, guys? Clear? यहाँ पे भी डेबिट और रिसीट विच एवर इज अर्लियर वो कॉन्सेप्ट लगेगा कोई डाउट सो अगर मैं TCS सेक्शन 206C सबसेक्शन 1 को रिवाइज करूं क्विकली सो इट इज ऑन सर्टेन गुड्स एंड सर्टेन गुड्स मतलब लिकर टेंडुलीज टिम्बर फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूस स्क्रैप एंड मिनरल ओर्स who would collect the TCS? Any person who's the seller will collect the TCS except individual HA. They will only collect the TCS when in the preceding year they have turnover of more than 1 crore or gross receipts of more than 50 lakhs. Who would be the buyer? Buyer can be any person, but people who are using it for personal consumption, PSUs, central government, high commissions, club, etc., will not collect TCS from them. Also, another exception under section 206C subsection 1 is that if the person is using that goods for further manufacturing and give you the declaration that yes, I will be using that good for further manufacturing, then you will not collect the TCS. Got it, guys? आगे वाले सेक्शन चले किसी को डाउट इन 206C सबसेक्शन 1 अभी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग सेक्शन आने वाले हैं अंडर दिस क्लब कैन बी एनी क्लब ऋतुराज लाइक एसोसिएशंस ये जितना भी जिम खाना क्लब है ये सब नॉन रेजिडेंट नहीं पर्सनल कंजम्पशन के लिए एवरीवन इज आउट प्लीज गाइस GST से मत मिक्स करो TDS से भी मत मिक्स करो TCS को अलग रखो so that you can get a clarity while understanding. स्क्रैप इस केस में बायर सेलर मोहम्मद क्या कंफ्यूजन है मैंने आपसे स्क्रैप खरीदा यू आर द सेलर आई एम द बायर सिंपल स्क्रैप तो मतलब यहाँ पे the scrap which is coming out of any manufacturing process and a scrap which cannot be used as it is. यहाँ पे रद्दी जो पेपर वाला रद्दी होता है, the paper which is old and then you sell that raddi, that is not scrap, okay? Got it? Without? चलो नेक्स्ट सेक्शन करते हैं. ये बहुत छोटे छोटे सेक्शन है, नॉट एज मच डिटेल्ड एज टीडीएस, सिंपल सिंपल सेक्शन है. Next section is section 206C, subsection 1C. This is not very important section, so I'll quickly take it up. यहाँ पे क्या है? When you go to any parking lot, they are given on license or lease to the person. They're given on license or lease to the another person. For example, एक ग्राउंड एमसीडी का बहुत बड़ा है जहाँ पे पार्किंग होती है. वो ग्राउंड एमसीडी का है बट वो किसी और को लीज पे देते हैं. दैट पर्सन विल कलेक्ट पार्किंग फ्रॉम अस. दैट पर्सन विल कलेक्ट पार्किंग फ्रॉम अस. तो यहाँ पे टीसीएस इज बिटवीन दोज टू पीपल हु इज जिसका वो पार्किंग लॉट है एंड जिसको वो लीज पे दे रहे. सो यहाँ पे गाइस 206C subsection 1C, not very important, is on is a TCS on lease or license of a parking lot, toll plaza, mine or quarry. तो यहाँ पे who would be the collector? The person who grants a lease or license. ठीक है? Who would be the collectee? The licensee or lessee. Simple. TCS is collected at the rate of 2%. That's it. और जो भी उन दोनों में ट्रांजैक्शन हो रही है, बहुत बहुत रेयर होता है कि इससे कोई क्वेश्चन आए. बट नो टीसीएस व्हेन द लाइसेंसी इज द पब्लिक सेक्टर कंपनी. बहुत कम इससे क्वेश्चन आते हैं. Next TCS which we'll be covering, which is very important, is TCS under section 206C 1F. इसको ध्यान से पढ़ेंगे, ध्यान से सुनेंगे. 206C 1F. क्या सेक्शन लिखा हुआ है? Sale of motor vehicle of value exceeding 10 lakhs. Sale of motor vehicles on value exceeding 10 lakhs. आप में से कभी किसी ने कार परचेज किया है? Anyone has purchased car? नहीं? Okay. So, कार के गाइस टू पार्ट होते हैं. एक होता है, अब आप कार लेने जाते हैं, डू यू डायरेक्टली गो टू टोयोटा प्लांट एंड टेक इट? नो, यू गो टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स, डीलर्स, राइट? तो एक सेल होता है विच इज B2B, विच इज हैपनिंग बिटवीन द मैन्युफैक्चरर एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर, राइट? टोयोटा डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स को कार देता है. एंड वन इज बिटवीन विच इज B2C और C2C, कस्टमर टू कस्टमर, और B2C, जिसमें डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर से आप कार खरीद रही हो या सेकेंड हैंड कार खरीद रही हो फ्रॉम अदर कस्टमर. So 206C1F is on sale of motor vehicles exceeding a particular value. But that is not covered here. That is not covered between the transaction which is happening between manufacturer and distributor. So 206C1F may, whenever the sale of motor vehicle we'll be talking about the retail sale, not the wholesale sale. So not applicable. 1F. So 1F कब applicable होते हैं? When you go to the distributor, you are purchasing a car of a value of more than 10 lakhs. Quotation लेके आना. Quotation क्या होता है? Whenever you go to take a car, they first give you a quotation along with test drive. So if the value of the car along with taxes, जो भी government के 100 types of taxes which are there, is more than 10 lakhs, they will apply TCS at the rate of 1% in the quotation itself, because they have to take that 1% from you. So, yeah, or you're selling a second-hand car, At that time also, suppose I have an Innova, I'm selling it for 16 lakhs. So I will collect TCS from the other person. I will collect the TCS from the other person. So B2B and C2C case में 1F लगेगा. Condition क्या है? That the motor vehicle should be of more than 10 lakh. The consideration I can say exceeds 10 lakh. TCS is on entire sale consideration. कितना TCS लगेगा? At the rate of 1%. When? At the time of receipt. So अगर suppose करो टोटल कार का वैल्यू बना से 15 lakhs. They will collect 15,000 also along with you as TCS. अब आपने अगर 2,50,000 बुकिंग पे दे दिया तो एट द टाइम ऑफ रिसीट दे विल कलेक्ट 1%. जैसे जैसे अमाउंट देते जाओगे वैसे वैसे दे विल कलेक्ट 1%. मैम लोन तो कभी कभार बैंक से होता है, सो एवरीथिंग इज इंक्लूडेड इन दैट कोटेशन. You get it done, you will get to know how the process happens. ठीक है. Now the question comes, मैम मैंने 2 बार जाके मारुति ली from the same dealer. Will he collect TCS from me? No. The point is, one motor vehicle with the sale of the motor vehicle which is happening should exceed 10 lakh. If it is less than 10 lakh, it will not happen. So suppose I go on one dealer, I purchase a WagonR in a particular month. Then after 2 months again, I go from the same dealer, I purchase a WagonR again. अब आप बोलोगे कि मैम डीलर और आपका ट्रांजैक्शन तो 20 lakhs का से 16-17 lakhs का हो गया. नो. So motor vehicle, they will see if it is exceeding 10 lakh, they will collect TCS from me. Reason is कि a person who is purchasing a high end value car should give some amount as tax first. कि हाँ ठीक है, he is purchasing so much amount of such amount of car, he is capable of giving such amount of tax. Simple. मैम कुछ exceptions है. Who would be the collector? Simple collector. Seller होगा. Seller can be you and me also. Correct? Can be you and me also. Except individual and HUF. And individual and HUF will collect TCS only if they have in the preceding year turnover of more than 1 crore or gross receipts of more than 50 lakhs. कलेक्टी कौन होगा? बायर, जो कार परचेज कर रहे. सिंपल. बट एक्सेप्शन क्या है इसका गाइस? व्हाट आर द एक्सेप्शन? एक्सेप्शन इज सिंपल. यू विल नॉट कलेक्ट टैक्स फ्रॉम सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, state government, embassy, high commission, diplomats, local authorities, any PSU who is engaged in transportation, or dealer of motor vehicle. ठीक है. कोई डाउट? इस पे TCS नहीं लगेगा अंडर 1F. B2B में 1F नहीं लगेगा. हरीश, जो मैंने सेक्शन अभी नहीं पढ़ाया, प्लीज थोड़ी देर उससे डाउट मत पूछो. आई नो यू हैव स्टडीड ऑल ऑफ द सेक्शंस, बट प्लीज रिफ्रेन फॉर सम टाइम. या सेल कंसिडरेशन, आई ऑल्सो रोट सेल कंसिडरेशन यहाँ पे. डिडंट आई? उसको कंसिडरेशन में लिखा. एंड तभी ऐसे कि सेल कंसिडरेशन मतलब इंक्लूडिंग ऑल टैक्सेस, वो आरटीओ, जो भी इतने सारे टैक्सेस लगते हैं. एक्स शोरूम प्राइस नहीं लिखा मैंने कहीं पे. जो भी फाइनल कोटेशन होता है वो वाला कंसिडरेशन. गवर्नमेंट, अविनाश, गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग दैट यू आर परचेसिंग इतना वैल्यू, तो 1% आप टैक्स तो डिपॉजिट करा सकते हो ना. Mr. V, which point? So if you go to a dealer, they will collect tax from you, but they will not collect tax from central government, state government, अगर central government गाड़ी ले रही है, state government गाड़ी ले रही है, embassy गाड़ी ले रही है, local authorities गाड़ी ले रही है, PSU, which is already engaged in carrying of passengers, like state, your DTCs and all, or any dealer of motor vehicle, उनसे TCS collect नहीं होता under 1F. If you are Shini selling a car to another individual, suppose between Shini, you and me, you are selling me a car for 12 lakh rupees, you have to collect TCS if in the preceding year your turnover is more than 1 crore or gross receipt is more than 50 lakhs in case of profession. Otherwise, no. ठीक है? Madhav, कोई doubt? So 1G section, which is our next TCS section, 1G and 1H, are very, 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 very important and technical section. We'll take a break here. We'll get in touch in next 10 minutes. Today's class can extend up to 10. So please be prepared accordingly and do have something. And let's be back in 10 minutes. Okay? Taken your point, Madhav. We'll start with 1G and 1H. Guys, welcome back. I hope everyone is back and fully prepared for the next section which we are doing. बस थोड़ा सा 2 sections रह गए. TCS covered, फिर advanced tax, फिर class finish. Simple. चलो. अब ये वाला provision भी ध्यान से समझना. This is one of the most talked about provision and most confusing provision also. So let's start. Yes, मोहम्मद. सिंगल ट्रांजैक्शन मतलब सिंगल मोटर व्हीकल का जब सेल कंसिडरेशन 10 लाख से ज्यादा है, टीसीएस लगेगा. सिंपल. इफ 10 lakhs is if it is more than 10 lakhs, TCS would be applicable. If it is less than 10 lakhs, TCS would not be applicable. Because I told you ना, वो quotation पे ही they apply TCS if it is applicable. So now let's start. Section 206C1G. Repeat after me. 1G. Important, very, very, very important section. इसको हम अगेन एक सिंपल चार्ट से समझेंगे. This section can come also or might not come at your level, but it is an important section. I'll just simply say that. 206C1G, which is the new section. इसमें 2 parts हैं guys. एक part है GA and one part is clause B. पहले हम B समझेंगे. First we'll understand B. Concept समझाती हूँ. Why this particular section was introduced? This section is on tax collection or source on sale of OTP. You say what is sales of OTP? Overseas tour package. Government has a major concern of foreign investment going abroad through tour, through other things, etc., etc. Foreign exchange FDI discourage करने के लिए, because the least transaction which will happen abroad, the foreign currency जो हमारा what you say, the value would be more stronger, right? So again, to discourage transactions or to promote domestic tourism, government came up with a TCS on overseas tour package. Tour package होते हैं जिसमें flight, accommodation, traveling क्या क्या है, they are there. So overseas tour package मतलब जो बाहर foreign countries के घूमने के packages को, if that is being sold, TCS would be collected. Who will sell it? Any to any seller of OTT package like Make My Trip, like Thomas and Cook. कोई भी हो सकता है, right? Anyone can be the seller of OTP. So he would collect TCS from you. Now, suppose I am a person who runs a tour and travel company. You came to me and you said कि भैया एक दुबई का package दे दो. Give me a package for a Dubai tour. I gave you a package of 4 lakhs. You gave me 4 lakhs, but I have to collect TCS from you. I have to collect TCS from you. Why? Because 206C1G is applicable. Sale of overseas store package. So collectee would be the buyer of overseas store package. अब यहाँ पे पैकेज वर्ड यूज हो रहा है तो फुल पैकेज की बात हो रही है. If you just purchase tickets from me, I will not 206C1G is not applicable. You're just purchasing hotel from me, 1G is not applicable. It should be a combination of flights and hotels or hotels and travel or any 2-3 things. Then only it would be termed as package. What is the rate? Guys, rate is so confusing because there have been a changes with Finance Act 2023. So the rate is like 5% till the package value is तो इसको ऐसे करते हैं. If the package is purchased till 30th September 2023, it was purchased till 30th September 2023, it was 5% without limit. So अगर 10 लाख का पैकेज सेल हो रहा है तो 5% लेना है विदाउट लिमिट. The amount of tax is collected at source. कोई लिमिट नहीं है. तो मतलब आप सपोज इफ यू आर गोइंग टू न्यूयॉर्क जहाँ पे 10 lakhs का आपका पैकेज बन गया आराम से, तो यू हैव टू गिव एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट ऑफ 50,000 फॉर टीसीएस विच यू विल गेट एज अ क्रेडिट, बट एक तरीके से कैश आउटफ्लो अब्रप्ट हो गया, राइट? सो दैट यू हैव टू गिव. बट अगर सितंबर के बाद कोई पैकेज लिया, सो द रेट इज 5% till the amount of package is 7 lakhs. If the amount of package crosses 7 lakhs, it becomes 20%. So suppose, and यहाँ पे कोई excess नहीं है. Suppose you take a package of 10 lakhs on 28th January today. So यहाँ पे simple है, 7 lakh पे they will collect 5% from you, which is 35,000. And 3 lakh पे they will collect 20% from you, which is 60,000. So 1 lakh, not 1 lakh, sorry. 95,000 is something which you are shredding from your pocket as tax separately before you go outside India. क्यों किया? ताकि domestic tourism promote हो. Why they did? So that the government is saying कि they are just discouraging it. Foreign travelers, they are discouraging. You don't go and spend so much money abroad. India पे पैसे खर्च करो. And now we have seen even Modi ji even saying even for wedding, do it in India, right? So they want कि कम से कम फॉरेन करेंसी थ्रू लेजर वगैरह स्पेंड हो. ठीक है, कोई डाउट गाइस ओवरसीज टूर पैकेज पे? ओके, नाउ नेक्स्ट पार्ट विच इज इन दिस इज थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजिंग, इज रेमिटेंस अंडर एलआरएस स्कीम. अब हम वो करेंगे, ध्यान से सुनना गाइस. 206C 1G Part A. इसमें what is the catch? See, 1G Part A talks about whenever you are making a remittance abroad. कोई भी रेमिटेंस हो सकता है. रेमिटेंस क्या होता है? मनी बाहर भेजना. द मनी यू वांट टू सेंड अब्रॉड, इट कैन बी और द अमाउंट व्हिच यू कन्वर्टेड इनटू फॉरेन एक्सचेंज, दैट हैपेंस थ्रू द स्कीम कॉल्ड एलआरएस. ये इनकम टैक्स का स्कीम नहीं है, दिस इज नॉट इनकम टैक्स का स्कीम, दिस इज आरबीआई का स्कीम, लिबरलाइज्ड रेमिटेंस स्कीम. कि 1% in a financial year, 1% in a financial year can actually in this scheme limit up to 250,000 US dollar. Huge amount होता है करोड़ में. 250,000 US dollar without any approval, without any RBI approval, and it can be for any purpose. मतलब not illegal purpose. It can be for traveling abroad. It can be for sending money to a relative abroad. It can be for spending on medical treatment abroad. It can be for your education abroad. It can be for purchasing shares or purchasing house abroad. कोई भी remittance, मतलब कोई भी conversion from Indian currency to foreign currency can only happen through LRS, and that too up to 250,000 US dollar without RBI. ठीक है. So कोई भी conversion हो रहा है, वो आप किसके थ्रू करोगे? Either from bank और ऑथराइज डीलर. ठीक है, जैसे मनी यूनियन हो गया, वेस्टर्न मनी यूनियन ट्रांसफर, ऑल ऑफ दिस. ठीक है, दो लोगों से कर सकते हैं. आई कैन नॉट कम टू यू एंड से कि गिव मी कैनेडियन डॉलर. नो, डज नॉट हैपन लाइक दैट. तो इधर बैंक और ऑथराइज्ड डीलर से. So whenever you go to them for exchange of foreign currency or for remitting it abroad, whatever, they ask you to fill a form under LRS and they ask you to write the purpose. कि किसके लिए कर रहे हो, बाहर जाना है, ट्रैवलिंग करना है, और बच्चे को भेजना है, और मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट, वट एवर इज द पर्पस, दे आस्क यू टू राइट इट डाउन. ठीक है. सो सॉरी, these people will collect TCS. So 206C, 1G A में who would be the collector? The bank or the authorized dealer. The bank or the authorized dealer would collect TCS from you. The question is from whom? From any person who is making that remittance. ये भी सिंपल है. Confusion यहाँ पे guys, why there is a confusion? Confusion is because of the changes which have happened during the year. They say कि LRS में you can make any remittance for any purpose up to 7 lakhs. No TCS would be collected. No TCS would be collected. तो वो कोई भी पर्पस के लिए हो, मैं बाहर शेयर्स खरीदना है, मैंने 4 लाख ट्रांसफर करे, no TCS would be collected from bank. I wanted to send it to my child who is studying abroad, 5 lakhs ट्रांसफर करे, नो TCS would be collected. Because वो लिमिट पूरे साल का है. LRS में वो 2,50,000 USD का लिमिट ना, that is for full year. I can spend it on any current or capital transaction. But the moment LRS में, I'm not talking about one time transaction. The moment remittance बाहर या exchange or LRS happens of more than 7 lakhs, then TCS collection comes at picture. Then TCS collection comes into picture. Suppose मैंने 10 lakhs remit करे, and I should say it like this. पहले 2 lakhs remit करे for purchasing shares, ठीक है. फिर 3 lakhs remit करे to my daughter who is studying बाहर, ठीक है, for education, suppose. फिर 1 lakh remit करा again for purchasing shares. फिर 1 lakh किया क्योंकि I was going abroad, तो I took it for traveling purpose. अभी 7 लाख हो गए. ठीक है. अब सपोज मैंने 2 lakhs लिया for purchasing more shares abroad. Now remittance बाहर कितने, 7 lakhs से ज्यादा हो गया, 2,357. On this 2 lakhs TCS would be collected. The moment मेरे LRS मतलब remittance scheme में as a person it crosses 7 lakhs, TCS would be collected. इतना clarity आया. Now the question comes, ma'am, what is the rate of tax collection? Rate depends upon the purpose of remittance. Rate depends upon the purpose of remittance. अब वो remittance अगर 7 लाख के बाद किसी भी पर्पस के लिए हो रही है, 7 लाख तक वो मैं कोई भी पर्पस के लिए यूज करूँ, डज नॉट मैटर. 7 लाख के बाद वो जो उनसे पर्पस के लिए हो रही है उस पर रेट डिपेंड करेगा. इफ रेमिटेंस इज हैपनिंग फ्रॉम लोन टेकन फ्रॉम एजुकेशन पर्पस, मतलब suppose I have a daughter studying abroad, we took an education loan. वो loan remit हो रहा है बाहर, that loan is getting remitted. So if the remittance is happening from the loan taken from education purpose, TCS would be collected at 0.5%. If the remittance is happening for education or medical treatment, TCS would be collected at the rate of 5%. TCS would be collected at 5%. क्या बोला मैंने? अगर लोन के अमाउंट से पैसा बाहर जा रहा है 0.5%. अगर जनरल एजुकेशन या मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट के लिए पैसा बाहर जा रहा है बियॉन्ड 7 lakhs, देन 5% इन एक्सेस ऑफ 7 lakhs. और कोई अदर पर्पस है, कोई भी अदर पर्पस हो सकता है, शेयर्स खरीदना, ट्रैवलिंग के लिए, वेडिंग के लिए, एनी अदर पर्पस एक्सेप्ट लोन एजुकेशन एंड मेडिकल पर्पस, then it is 5% if happened before 30th September and 20% if happened after 30th September or from 1st October, I should say. Or not before 30th September or after 30th September, 20%. है ना कंफ्यूजिंग? अब फिर से एग्जांपल लेते हैं। अब एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं। LRS एक स्कीम होती है जिसमें आप बाहर पैसा बेचते हो। यू आर सेंडिंग मनी अब्रॉड। ओके, ध्यान से देख। ऑन 1st of May, I sent money abroad for 3 lakh rupees for my daughter who is educating outside. ठीक है, उसके एजुकेशन के लिए 3 लाख रुपए भेजा। फिर हमने लोन लिया। ठीक है, उस लोन से 3 lakhs और आगे भेजा। ऑन 1st of June 23। फिर वही लोन का दूसरा इंस्टॉलमेंट जब मिला, फिर हमने 2 लाख रुपीस फिर भेजे। ऑन 1st of July 23। अब ये भी लोन रेमिटेंस है। दिस इज एन अमाउंट फ्रॉम लोन विच इज रेमिटेड 2 लाख रुपीस। अब टीसीएस कलेक्ट हो जाएगा। बैंक विल कलेक्ट टीसीएस। बैंक मुझसे पर्पस पूछेगा, 7 lakhs क्रॉस हो गया। बैंक पर्पस पूछेगा, बैंक ने कहा कि आपने 7 लाख से ज्यादा रेमिटेंस कर दिया। अच्छा, आप ये अमाउंट लोन से यू आर रेमिटिंग, ऐसे यस। So on 1 lakh, they will collect TCS at 0.5% from me. On 1 lakh, here they will collect TCS from at the rate of 0.5%, because अब 7 लाख क्रॉस हो गया, इन एक्सेस ऑफ 7 लाख। पर्पस क्या है? लोन के अमाउंट से, एजुकेशन लोन के अमाउंट से रेमिटेंस हो रहा है 0.5%। अब 2nd of August को आई रेमिटेड सर्टन अमाउंट से 1,50,000 for purchasing shares. So when I will go to bank and I will say, okay, take this 1,50,000 and convert it into US shares. I want to purchase Microsoft shares. So they will convert 1,50,000, but at the same time, they will collect TCS at the rate of 5% from me. Because अब मेरा LRS का 7 लाख का अमाउंट यूज हो चुका है। ठीक है, सो 1,50,000 पे they will collect 5% from me. Suppose 9th of October को again I send some money, say I send 3 lakh rupees for my cousin's treatment। ठीक है, मेडिकल पर्पस के लिए। अब पर्पस क्या है? कजन का ट्रीटमेंट। सो 3 लाख पे अगेन दे विल कलेक्ट व्हाट 5% फ्रॉम मी टीसीएस। ठीक है, कोई डाउट, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है? अब कोई समझ, कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं? ओके, नाउ now on say 1st of December, I again sent money, say 2,50,000। अगेन मुझे और शेयर्स लेने थे माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के। मैं बैंक के पास गई कि 2,50,000 को कन्वर्ट कर दो एंड आई वॉन्ट दिस मनी टू परचेज शेयर्स। सो गवर्नमेंट का अच्छा शेयर्स, ओके, 1st अक्टूबर के बाद है। अच्छा, 7 lakhs ऑलरेडी क्रॉस हो गए। सो 250 at the rate of 20% they will collect TCS from me now। Any other purpose, 20%। आया समझ? वो first 7 lakh can be for any purpose। First 7 lakh can be for any purpose, no TCS would be collected। After 7 lakh, you have to check the purpose and then TCS would be collected accordingly। You will get the credit of it definitely, but इतना amount block हो रहा है। So 1A अलग है, 206C 1GA अलग है, 1GB is different। 1GB is for overseas tour package and 1GA is for any remittance which is happening through LRS। I know 20% is huge. It is done to uh, discourage ultimately। देवराज, आई एम टेलिंग साथ साथ कि कैसे क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, व्हाट टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन कम्स, सो प्लीज ट्राई टू पे अटेंशन। Devmani, only income tax related questions, please. You can write it to ICAI. If any other topic is there or any other subject का answers are not getting a clarity, just write it to ICAI, they will give it. ये guys, ये example इस तरीके से I can give it to you writing, कहीं नहीं मिलेगा. Please, please, please make sure that you take a note of it. 9 अक्टूबर को अमाउंट मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट के लिए दिया, इसलिए 5%. अगर किसी और पर्पज के लिए होता तो 20%, इसलिए 1 दिसंबर वाला 20%. ओके नागराजू? विदाउट चले. हर एक चीज आपको लिख के यहाँ पे फॉर्मेट हो रही है, टाइम दिया जा रहा है, तो मेक अ नोट ऑफ इट to self understand it. Example, everything is taken up. So please, at the end of the day, don't tell us कि मैम हम PDF नहीं मिला. That is very discouraging. That is like spoon feeding, and I don't want any of my students to be spoon fed. Next 10 minutes again, I don't want anyone's attention to be here via. Without है, please पूछो so that we can proceed. And अगर okay है तो I miss my green signal, please give that. Devraj, Manish, Mohammed, Shini, is it clear? Madhav? ठीक है. So अब now let's proceed to your next and a very, 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 very important section, which is 206C1H. अब गवर्नमेंट ने सेल ऑफ सर्टेन गुड्स पे, सिर्फ सर्टेन गुड्स पे TCS एप्लीकेबल कर दिया. देन मोटर व्हीकल पे भी सर्टेन अमाउंट पे, दैट 10 लाख वाले पे TCS एप्लीकेबल कर दिया. बट government wants to know that what are that huge transactions again happening, and what is actually those amount of volume of transactions which are happening during a year in an economy. अब गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया? They came up with the concept on TCS in general on sale of goods, general. बट सबसे TCS कलेक्ट करने लग गए, तो इतना सारा सेल ट्रांजैक्शन हैपेंस in a day, in a particular time, that it would be absurd to do such thing. So government wants ki what are that huge volume per person or per party happening. So they came up with the concept of TCS on sale of goods under section 206C1H, where the collector, who is obviously the seller, will collect tax at the rate of 0.1%. 0.1% in excess of 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs. अगर वो 50 lakhs से ज्यादा का सेल कर रहा है with one particular party, then he will collect TCS at the rate of 0.1% in excess of 50 lakhs. Excess से मतलब guys, अगर transaction is of 60 lakhs, so he will collect TCS at the rate of 0.1% on 10 lakhs. Please ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस होके मत करना, कैलकुलेटर पे फिर भी चेक कर लेना 0.1%, 1000 आता है या 10,000. So वो 1000 rupees he will collect tax. Who? Seller. कोई भी seller? No, not all seller. Seller whose turnover or gross receipts in preceding financial year, exceeds, or I will say turnover exceeds 10 crore. तो यहाँ पे हर एक सेलर को कलेक्ट नहीं करना. अगर 50 लाख की ट्रांजैक्शन एक सिंगल बायर से हो रही है, सिर्फ उन्हीं सेलर्स पे है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल who in the preceding year had a turnover of more than 10 crore. So huge sellers की बात हो रही है, ठीक है. Secondly, वो suppliers उनके मतलब वो single vendors जिनसे ट्रांजैक्शन करना है जिनसे 50 लाख से ज्यादा का ट्रांजैक्शन होता है ड्यूरिंग द ईयर. 50 लाख से ज्यादा का ट्रांजैक्शन होता है during the year. From those party, you will collect tax at the rate of 0.1%. Again and again, I'm saying on excess. On excess. At time of receipt of payment, receipt of income. Amount तभी करना है जब per sale during the year is more than 50 lakhs with a single party and I am a person who has a turnover of more than 10 crore in the preceding financial year. Collecting कौन होगा when aggregate जिससे aggregate sale consideration during the year exceeds 50 lakhs. उसी से करेंगे ना. So suppose simple सा है. पहली सेल करी 20 lakhs की. Will I collect TCS? No. दूसरी सेल करी 25 lakhs की. Will I collect TCS? No. Third सेल करी 30 lakhs की. Will I collect TCS? Yes. On what amount? Cumulative लो 20 plus 25 45. 45 plus 30 75. कितने पे कलेक्ट होगा TCS? 25 lakhs पे at 0.1%. 0.1% है, 1% नहीं है. So 25 lakhs पे 0.1%, 2,500 rupees would be collected additionally. ठीक है, सिंपल. अब जैसे मैम अगर सपोज अब आपका क्वेश्चन आएगा कि मैम एक स्क्रैप डीलर है, उनका ट्रांजैक्शन 50 लाख से ज्यादा है, whether 206C1 would be applicable or 206C1H would be applicable. Guys, अगर specific provision है, always specific provision are applicable. So अगर scrap के लिए भी have a specific section which is 206C1, so always 206C1 would be applicable. But for example, I am a manufacturer, you are a car dealer. 1F applicable होगा? नहीं होगा. Why? Because that is between B2C or C2C, correct? But 1H can be applicable. Yes. अब Toyota का obviously turnover more than 10 crore है, right? And dealer जब गाड़ी ले रहा होगा 50 लाख से ज्यादा का transaction होगा. So 1H Toyota can apply. Got it? So वैसे you have to see transaction by transactions. Got it, guys? अब अब ऐसा जब TCS में section got introduced, a corresponding section got introduced under TDS also. A year later or 2 year later, corresponding section, same section आ गया TDS में 194Q करके. वो आ गया section on purchase of goods. Now it's time to brush up TDS, TCS and merge it together. ठीक है, purchase of goods पे आ गया. अब TDS में 2 मिनट लगेंगे, no doubt. तो अब TDS में हम देखते क्या है, डिडक्टर डिडक्टिव, करेक्ट. The question comes, who is the deductor? Who will be making the payment? The buyer. And who would be the deductee? The seller. अब same TD section ले आके if the buyer has a turnover of more than 10 crore in the preceding year and the seller with whom transaction in preceding financial year and the seller with whom transaction per year as in the consideration or the sale per year exceeds 50 lakhs, exact same layer, then the TDS has to be deducted at the rate of 0.1% in excess of 50 lakhs. In excess of 50 lakhs. सेम एकदम एग्जैक्टली सेम नाउ जैसे वहां पे लाइबिलिटी वाज ऑन कलेक्टर इफ ही हैज अ टर्नओवर ऑफ मोर देन 10 करोड़ यहाँ पे लाइबिलिटी इज ऑन बायर इफ ही हैज अ टर्नओवर ऑफ मोर देन 10 करोड़ दोनों के बीच में सेल परचेज मोर देन ऑफ 50 lakhs TDS इज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी डिडक्टेड अब यहाँ पे एट द टाइम ऑफ क्रेडिट और पेमेंट विच एवर इज अर्लियर है वहां पे रिसीट है So if I have to make a comparison of 194Q, 194Q only this much is given in your book also as a summary and as a corresponding section to 206C1H. इसलिए I've covered up towards the end. Okay. So how will you remember कि मैम दोनों में confusion ना हो? Simple है. 194Q and 206C1H. अच्छा दोनों का डिफरेंस लेने से पहले एक सिनेरियो करते हैं. Suppose sale happened during the year 60 lakhs, 60 lakhs, 60 lakhs. A case in where buyer preceding year turnover is given, seller preceding year turnover is given. ठीक है बायर प्रीसीडिंग ईयर टर्नओवर यहाँ पे 12 करोड़ है यहाँ पे 9 करोड़ है यहाँ पे 9 करोड़ है यहाँ 12 करोड़ है यहाँ 12 एंड 12 सपोज ठीक है अब केस 1 करते हैं गाइस ध्यान से फोकस करना सेल एंड परचेज कितने का हो रहा है 60 lakhs का टर्नओवर इन द प्रीसीडिंग ईयर किसका एक्सीड हो रहा है बायर का तो 10 करोड़ से ज्यादा है ठीक है प्रीसीडिंग ईयर टर्नओवर लिखा हुआ है प्रीसीडिंग ईयर टर्नओवर 10 करोड़ से ज्यादा है बायर का सो व्हाट सेक्शन वुड बी एप्लीकेबल 194Q he will deduct tax he will deduct tax at the rate of 0.1% on excess of 50 lakhs exactly similar ठीक है यहाँ पे what will have which section would hit 206C1H second case में 206C1H would hit why sale is of more than 50 lakhs but seller का turnover is more than 10 crore buyer का turnover is less than 10 crore कोई इशू नहीं है he will collect extra 60 lakhs पे extra 0.1% at the time of receipt of payment ठीक है on 10 lakhs अब यहाँ पे दिक्कत है केस 3 में where both have a turnover of more than 10 crore in the preceding year. Now 194Q would be applicable or 206C1H would be applicable. यहाँ confusion है. सबसे पहले always TDS sections are applicable. So the first right is with the buyer to deduct tax. First right is with the buyer to deduct tax. अगर buyer ने tax deduct कर दिया, then no need for collection. But if buyer forgets, then seller has an option to. So first, 194Q would prevail. 194Q would prevail. But अगर buyer ने deduct नहीं किया tax while making the payment, then collector will collect money. Then collector will collect 206C1H. दोनों में से कोई एक would be applicable. Any one of that would be applicable, not both of that. Got it? कोई डाउट गाइस 206C 1H and 1G में any doubt सबसे पहले माधव फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज वेदर यू आर एन एलिजिबल डिडक्टर और एलिजिबल कलेक्टर अगर मेरे और आप में सेल परचेज हो रहा है 70 lakhs का हो रहा है बट नीदर योर टर्नओवर इन द प्रीसीडिंग ईयर इज मोर देन 10 crore नीदर माय टर्नओवर इन द प्रीसीडिंग ईयर इज मोर देन 10 crore then no 194Q no 206C1H nothing would happen बट किसी एक का हो गया देन यू हैव टू सी कि सेलर का हुआ है या बायर का हुआ सेलर का हुआ है तो 206C1H बायर का हुआ है तो 194Q buyer makes the advance payment, he will deduct 50 lakhs pay, provided if in the preceding year his turnover is more than 10 crore. थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल है और सिर्फ इतना ही कवर्ड है in your module at your level. That these sections which we did can be more covered in more detail, but that are not applicable at your level. I think we did all those in a lot of detail, in a lot of corresponding parts. Point is कि आप remember करो who is the collector, who is the collectee, whether their transaction is getting hit or not. Okay? Mohammed had a doubt on TCS of shares only, I think. यहाँ पे डाउट है मोहम्मद. 2 अगस्त को लिया क्योंकि मोहम्मद बिफोर 30 सितंबर 5% रेट है, आफ्टर 30 सितंबर 20% रेट है, इसलिए तो वो 2 अगस्त को हो रहा था इसलिए 5% लिया. सेम हैपेंड ऑन 1 दिसंबर से 20%. आई टोल्ड यू दिस चेंज हैज कम ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, इसलिए कंफ्यूजन है. नेक्स्ट ईयर ऑनवर्ड इट वुड बी 20% ओनली. Nagarjun, you have to see which case is applicable. If 194Q is applicable, first always question is, अच्छा, how will you see कि 194Q या 2061H का question है? You will see कि जैसे सेल 50 दोनों के बीच में 50 लाख से ज्यादा का ट्रांजैक्शन है. Then you will see, अच्छा 50 लाख से ज्यादा का ट्रांजैक्शन है. Let's see buyer का turnover. Given 194Q. More than 10 crore है 194Q. सेलर का टर्नओवर मोर देन 10 करोड़ है 261H. दोनों का टर्नओवर मोर देन 10 करोड़ है. सो यू विल राइट फर्स्ट ऑप्शन इज ऑन बायर टू कलेक्ट द टैक्स, to deduct the tax. If he does not deduct, then it is the responsibility of the seller to collect the tax. ठीक है, but both will not happen. इतना तो दोनों में अंडरस्टैंडिंग होगी. दे आर ऑपरेटिंग एट अ 10 करोड़ का लेवल, सो डेफिनेटली उनके फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट में दे हैव दिस मच अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट हु वुड बी डिडक्टिंग और हु वुड बी कलेक्टिंग. ओवरलैपिंग नहीं होगा, डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट. सो 194Q इज लाइबिलिटी ऑन बायर, 261H इज लाइबिलिटी ऑन सेलर. दोनों का क्या है? व्हेन टर्नओवर एक्सीड्स 10 करोड़ ऑफ बायर, व्हेन टर्नओवर एक्सीड्स 10 करोड़ ऑफ सेलर, rate is 0.1% in excess of the credit or payment, whichever is earlier, 50 lakhs, वहां पे भी 0.1%. Madhav, guys, clear? Manish, Jagat, Monica. So that's it for TDS TCS. Don't worry, 10 minutes or 10 नहीं 15 minutes or we'll cover advanced tax. एक बारी brush up कर लो सारे concepts and then we'll cover advanced tax. अच्छा guys, do not forget to see the judicial and statutory updates for all of your chapters. एक मिनट ले लो. Go through any question if you have. Flip in the book. Yes, Mohammed, today is the last session for TDS, TCS and for advanced tax also, which is covered now. Advanced tax simple सा है, कुछ इतना difficult नहीं है. Easy है, very easy. BOS knowledge portal में सारी जगह पे you will get the update. Contradict नहीं है हरीश. क्या हुआ कि when they introduced this provision for seller, they thought that we can introduce the same provision for buyer also. Case laws are there at final level, definitely. not for. Up we come to the last provision because this chapter is TDS, TCS and advanced tax. Advanced tax क्या है? Remember first class of TDS I told you कि guys गवर्नमेंट के पास ड्यूरिंग द ईयर रिकवरी मैकेनिज्म के लिए one is TDS TCS route where they recover tax by putting an obligation on another person. Another person का obligation है कि they recover the tax and deposit it. ठीक है? One way to recover the tax during the year, during the previous year itself, that is pay as you earn, is through advance tax. Why there is a need of advance tax when there are TDS TCS provision? What simple sir. Guys, मेरा इंटरेस्ट 6 लाख है और से मेरा बैंक से इंटरेस्ट मिलता है आई हैव डन करोड़ एंड करोड़ ऑफ एफडी 10 लाख का इंटरेस्ट मिलता है ठीक है उसके अलावा आई हैव अदर इनकम्स ऑल्सो वट एवर इज द केस एट मैक्स गवर्नमेंट कितना बैंक कितना टीडीएस काटेगा इस पे 10%. But if I go as per the computation of income, taxes would be applicable, 20% rate आ जाएगा, right? There would be a difference. There would be a difference, right? TDS कट गया, but still there is a difference of tax. वो difference is what an obligation you have to fulfill through advance tax. This is fulfilled through advance tax. Apart from that, there can be a lot of transactions which cannot be covered under the ambit of TDS TCS. For example, in general sale purchases happening between you and me, 30 lakhs ka sale purchase hai, neither you are required to deduct tax nor I am required to collect tax. So, how will government get to know the due? So, this advance tax is a liability put on assessee himself. Assessee himself that he or she or it have to deposit their advance tax during the previous year based on estimation as true as possible. So 4 timelines हैं उस estimation के basis पे you have to deposit advance tax. हम सबको advance tax deposit करना है? No. Only if your estimated tax liability, only if your estimated tax liability is more than 10,000, then only you are required to deposit the advance tax, or I should say, is more than equal to 10,000. अब आप बोलोगे estimated tax liability क्या हुआ? Suppose मेरा एक X amount of income मैंने estimate किया during the year. Suppose I estimated an income of say 15 lakhs. Roughly I'm saying उस पे tax मेरे को आया कि 2 lakhs tax आएगा. ठीक है 2 lakhs tax आएगा अब मेरे को पता है कि इस 15 lakhs में TDS भी डिडक्ट होगा एट द रेट ऑफ 10%, TCS भी है एंड आई एज्यूम के सब कुछ मिला के TDS भी डिडक्ट है 1,95,000 का TDS डिडक्ट होगा. दिस इज प्योरली ऑन एस्टिमेशन. ठीक है नेट लायबिलिटी कितने का रह गया? ओनली 5,000. Only 5,000. I am not required to deposit advance tax. Why? Because as for me, my estimated tax liability has not crossed 10,000 or more. Has not crossed 10,000 or more. So estimated tax liability यानी after estimation मतलब total tax total income निकाला estimated basis पे total tax निकाला and total tax के बाद after taking all the TDS I think I will get all the TCS I think I will get all the relief, all the rebate, everything करने के बाद, whatever is the estimated amount, that if it is crossing 10,000, then I have to deposit advance tax. Otherwise, I don't have to deposit the advance tax. Now the question comes, ma'am, deductions fee, सब कुछ. Assume you are computing the income today itself, computing the tax today itself, computing the final TDS liabilities also today itself. सब कुछ assume करने के बाद if it is 10,000 or more then you have to deposit the tax, otherwise you don't have to deposit the tax. मैम कैसे estimate कर सकते हैं भाई? It is your income, you know what you will be earning during the year, you know what would be the final amounts which will come based on the past criteria. And based on that estimation, you have to deposit it. And best part is, guys, you have to deposit it in 4 installments. जैसे पांच सपोज करो मैंने इसी केस में आई एज्यूम दैट 15 lakhs is my income. जिसपे suppose 2 lakhs is coming as tax. I have almost 50,000 का TDS credit. Now, 1,50,000 is the amount of estimated tax liability which is happening during the year. So this I have to deposit in 4 installments. I'll tell you how all of these things have to happen. But first you have to understand why it is called advance tax, because you are paying it in the previous year itself. That's why the name is advance tax. Any tax which is paid in the previous year, that is from 1st April, if I'm talking about previous year 23-24, the return has to be filed in assessment year 24-25. Sorry. Any tax which is paid from 1st April 23 to between 1st April 23 to 31st March 24 would be termed as my advance tax for previous year 23-24. अगर previous year 23-24 के लिए if I'm paying any tax in that previous year itself, it is advance tax. मैम सबको पे करना है? Yes, सबको पे करना है except senior citizens who do not have business income. उनको थोड़ा सा रिलीफ दे दिया. So senior citizens, and senior citizen means resident senior citizens who do not have any business income, no business income. So they are out from the scope of advance tax. Resident senior citizen not having any business income. तो अगर कोई सीनियर सिटीजन है जिसका इंटरेस्ट इनकम है, रेंट इनकम है, मे बी उनका एडवांस टैक्स 10,000 से ज्यादा बने, बट दे आर नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू डिपॉजिट इट. बट कोई सीनियर सिटीजन है who has rental income and business income, then they are required to deposit advance tax. मैम कंप्यूटेशन कैसे होगा? इट इज सी गाइस, दो तरीके, या तो एओ आपको बोलेगा एडवांस टैक्स दो इस इतना अमाउंट का, और यू विल सेल्फ कंप्यूट इट. When self computer, you don't have to file that computation anywhere. It is your Excel calculation. You have to keep it with yourself. You have to deposit yourself. You have to deposit yourself. And it should be as close to the reality or maybe more than that. Because अगर कम advance tax deposit करोगे, interest repercussions आ जाएंगे. Interest repercussions आ जाएंगे. And what are the installments? जितना भी advance tax I will estimate. Whatever the advance tax I will estimate. We'll do questions, don't worry. It has to be deposited in 4 installments. 4 installment, अब जैसे I give an example of this 1,50,000. That 1,50,000 is an amount which is my estimated tax liability. So 1,50,000 has to be deposited in 4 installments. So you will say, ma'am, 150 who divide by four installments? No, installments are not taken like that. 1,50,000 को डिवाइड बाय 4 करके उसको 37,500 each installment में नहीं देना. No, 1,50,000 is the advance tax which I have to deposit during the year. That has to be deposited by 4 due dates, which are 15th June, 15th September, 15th December, and 15th March. 15th June, 15th September, 15th December, and 15th March. 4 due dates है. अब obviously beginning of the year में estimation इतना सही ना हो, close to the estimation हो, whatever it is coming. Beginning of the year में you only have to deposit 15% of the advance tax liability. तो 1.5 लाख का 15% कितना हुआ guys? 22,500. So up till 15 June, I have to deposit 22,500 as advance tax. 15 सितंबर तक गवर्नमेंट के पास 45% ऑफ द टोटल एडवांस टैक्स लायबिलिटी पहुंच जाना चाहिए. सो 1,50,000 का 45% which is 67,500. गवर्नमेंट के पास 15 सितंबर तक 67,500 आ जाना चाहिए. दैट इज 45%. बट ऑलरेडी 22,500 हैज बीन डिपॉजिटेड. सो नेक्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट में आप कितना करोगे? नेटो। यानी अगर मेरे को सेकंड इंस्टॉलमेंट डिपॉजिट करनी है, आई विल डिपॉजिट 45,000। व्हाई? बिकॉज 15 सितंबर तक 45% चाहिए टोटल गवर्नमेंट को, और जितना पहले डिपॉजिट कर दिया वो तो हट जाएगा ना, तो इस इंस्टॉलमेंट में कितना जाना चाहिए डिफरेंस। हो सकता है किसी ने फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट नहीं डिपॉजिट करा, 15 जून के टाइमलाइन पे दे डिड नॉट डिपॉजिट एनी एडवांस टैक्स, देन 15 सितंबर तक 45% पूरा देना। सिमिलरली 15 दिसंबर तक 75% पूरा देना। 75% कम्स टू 1,50,000 का 1,12,500. Assuming that I have deposited by 15 June 22,500 and by 15 September 45,000 accumulate करके आ गया 67,500, so 45,000 इस टाइम पे भी डिपॉजिट कराना। और 15th मार्च के पास गवर्नमेंट के पास टोटल 1,50,000 शुड बी देयर। तो कितना रह गया? Which is 37,500. So can I say government has set 4 timelines: 15 June, up to 15 June, first installment, up to 15 September, second installment, up to 15 December, third, up to 15th March, fourth. Up to 15 June, 15% तक आ जाना चाहिए, up to 15 September, 45%, till 15 December, 75%, up to 15th March, 100%. This is for general people. If anyone is filing the income as per presumptive taxation. Presumptive taxation means 44 AD and 44 ADA. Then there is only one installment that 100% tax has to be deposited by 15th of March. So if I take this example and let's take it practically, just 1 second. Let's take it practically with a case of example. Don't worry, अभी example question करेंगे फिर और clear हो जाएगा। सब कुछ कंसिडर करना है मोहम्मद, एवरीथिंग यू हैव टू कंप्यूट योर इनकम। You as an assessee, you're computing your income. Section 192 के according, employer is not computing. You are doing it, okay? So let's come to a case here. एक पर्सन है जिसने अपना एस्टिमेट किया इनकम 10,50,000, ठीक है। अब उसमें से उसने एज्यूम किया कि 5 लाख प्रोफेशनल सर्विसेज का है, तो टीडीएस भी कटेगा 50,000। आई एस्टिमेटेड माई टैक्स, टोटल टैक्स 10,50,000 पे, इंक्लूडिंग सेस, सरचार्ज, एवरीथिंग 132,600, एंड आई एज्यूम कि हाँ 50,000 का तो टैक्स क्रेडिट आ जाएगा। सो नाउ 82,600 इज अ liability which I have to dispose of in 4 installments. So first installment में कितना? 15% of 82,600, 12,390. Then second installment में 45% of 82,600, which is 37,170. And I'm assuming कि 12,390 पहले डिपॉजिट करा दिया, तो सेकेंड इंस्टॉलमेंट में कितना करूंगी? 24,780। फिर थर्ड इंस्टॉलमेंट में 75% ऑफ 82,600, गवर्नमेंट के पास टोटल 61,950 पहुंच जाना चाहिए, जिसमें से 12,390 पहले चला गया, 24,780 उससे पहले चला गया, नाउ दिस टाइम ऑल्सो 24,780, एंड थर्ड इंस्टॉलमेंट में 82,600 पूरा डिपॉजिट हो जाना चाहिए। दैट कम्स टू 20,650 in this installment. Guys, it can happen that your estimation can change during the year, then your percentage of installment would also change during the year. You will not go and revise the previous installment, but make sure in the upcoming installment you pay at least 75% or you pay at least 45% or 100% as the case may be. अब प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में क्या होता है? प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में नो वन गोज एंड डायरेक्टली से कि हाँ 12,390 डिपॉजिट करा दो। एस्टिमेट करते हैं, अच्छा 12,390, अच्छा दे से अच्छा क्लाइंट 15,000 डिपॉजिट कर दो या 14,000 डिपॉजिट कर दो। 24 नेक्स्ट में 37,170 है, अच्छा 14,000 पहले दे दिया, you can make 15,000 more deposit or 25,000 more deposit. They take it like that. They टेक इट लाइक दैट. प्लीज ये मत करना क्वेश्चन क्या पूछता है. If the question is asking how much amount has to be deposited or total how much amount should be deposited by that date, both are different. If I ask if 15 September wala installment mein how much amount should be deposited, that is 24,780. But if I say by 15 September how much amount should be deposited as advance tax, that is 37,170 ki 15 September tak 45% should be deposited as advance tax. Got it? Question MCQ क्या पूछ रहा है is extremely important. अगर उस इंस्टॉलमेंट का कितना जाना चाहिए, दे आस्क दैट, आई एम सेइंग इट इन हिंदी. अगर उस इंस्टॉलमेंट में कितना जाना चाहिए तो जो पहले पे हुआ है वो माइनस हो जाएगा. बट उस इंस्टॉलमेंट तक कितना चला जाना चाहिए, देन इन दैट केस टोटल 45% और 75%, वट एवर इज द इंस्टॉलमेंट नंबर. अब सपोज मैम कैपिटल गेन इनकम हो गया, डिविडेंड इनकम हो गया, वी डू नॉट नो हाउ मच. Hari shall take this answer here. We do not know that ma'am how much would be the final estimation, right? We don't know about it. तो कैसे करेंगे? Simple है. Capital gain income हो गया, dividend income हो गया, which we do not know will happen or not, or if happen that what income would happen. So they would be considered in the installment which is upcoming after the transaction. For example, let me give you an example here. ध्यान से क्वेश्चन समझना. I'm taking this scenario, suppose at the end of the year. 4,50,000 इनकम था, ठीक है. 2,45,000 मेरा कैपिटल गेन हुआ, बट दिस हैपेंड ऑन 11th of November. अभी मैंने ये कंबाइन करा है, बट लेट्स सपोज इफ आई एम टॉकिंग एट द फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट, एट द स्टेज ऑफ फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट. फर्स्ट एट द स्टेज ऑफ फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट में क्या है मेरे पास, 4,50,000 इनकम है, करेक्ट. उस पे if I estimate tax, it comes to 10,400. उस पे I will take rebate, so no tax would come. So I'm relaxed कि भाई मेरा estimated income is 450 when the first installment time is there. My estimated income is 450 and my total income is 10,004. Total tax is coming nil, so I am not required to deposit the advance tax. I did not deposit the advance tax. फिर सेकेंड इंस्टॉलमेंट का टाइम आया, फिर आई एस्टिमेटेड द इनकम, स्टिल एस्टिमेटेड इनकम इज कमिंग टू 450, स्टिल एस्टिमेटेड टैक्स इज कमिंग टू nil. आई एम नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू डिपॉजिट टैक्स. बट till the time third installment came, now when third installment came, यहाँ तक कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं है. आई एम राइट, आई एम नॉट अ डिफॉल्टर बिकॉज till the time of second installment there was no advance tax liability. ठीक है, on 4,50,000 of income, tax was coming to 10,400, rebate मिलके no tax liability was there. But the moment I got a capital gain of 2,45,000, अब क्या हुआ, when third installment, I was sitting 14th December को third installment, I calculated 6,95,000 income आया, फिर टैक्स आ गया 61,630, 360. कैसे, 450 पे नॉर्मल टैक्स एंड कैपिटल गेन पे 20% सेस एंड सरचार्ज, एवरीथिंग इज टेकन. ठीक है. अब आई एम कंफ्यूज. आई एम सेइंग पहले तो एडवांस टैक्स लायबिलिटी था ही नहीं, बिकॉज आई वाज एस्टिमेटिंग देयर वाज नो एडवांस टैक्स लायबिलिटी. आई एस्टिमेटेड प्रॉपर्ली. अब ये कैपिटल गेन हो गया. Whenever incomes like capital gain, dividend, these or lottery, these things happens where you do not know what will be the result. So, उस case में you are not a defaulter. A. Second, you have to consider them in the immediate coming installment. ठीक है, in the immediate coming installment. अब third installment में immediate मैंने estimate करा 61,360 is my estimated tax liability. जिसपे how much has to be deposited by third installment? 75%. 75%. So 46,020 has to be deposited. कुछ पहले deposit नहीं किया तो full 46,020 would be deposited by the, or should be deposited by the third installment. So these are the scenarios which are should be scenario by the time of third installment. Got it? आई बिलीव. हाँ, बट अगर आपका कॉम्प्यूटेशन चेंज हो जाता है, दिस इज अ प्रॉब्लम. अब आप यू विल से कि मैम ठीक है, दीज आर ओनली फॉर कैपिटल गेन इनकम और डिविडेंड इनकम. बट सपोज मैम हमने बिजनेस इनकम एस्टिमेट किया था एट द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द ईयर 5 लाख, towards the end of the year it became 7 lakhs, then you will be considered as defaulter. तब वो होगा कि फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट एंड सेकंड इंस्टॉलमेंट कम डिपॉजिट हुआ, बोलोगे कि मैम दिस इज रॉन्ग ना, टेक्निकली इट इज पेनफुल, यस, बट गवर्नमेंट कहती है ना कि ओवर एस्टिमेट करके टैक्स दो, बिकॉज this advance tax which you're depositing during the previous year will ultimately settle off your net liability at the time of assessment year. So government says ki give maximum estimation पे. अब sometimes people are like कि सब कुछ मैम if we deposited in one installment is it any harm? This is no harm. आप सारा का सारा टैक्स फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट में दे दो, no one will give you interest on it, ठीक है, no one will give you a mala कि very good you have done it, no. If you give entire tax in the first or second installment, it is just affecting your working capital, nothing else. So back to this. अब नेक्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट में भी 61,360 100% हो जाना चाहिए, 46,000 फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट में, थर्ड में हुआ, तो 15,000 फोर्थ इंस्टॉलमेंट में डिपॉजिट करके टोटल 100% पे आ गया. So what are the advance tax timelines? 15 June, 15 September, 15 December, and 15th March. All the tax, 10, which is 15% up till 15 June, 45% up till 15 September, 75% up till 15 December, and 100% till 15th March have to be deposited. कि बाबा इंटरेस्ट पे आती हूँ, पहले ये तो बताओ. यस, इंटरेस्ट लगेगा. हाउ डिड वी कैलकुलेट दिस? डिड यू, इज इट क्लियर? अब आप बोलोगे कि मैम आपने तो बोला था कि 1 second, एनीथिंग विच यू डिपॉजिट बिटवीन 1st April to 31st March सब एडवांस टैक्स माना जाता है, बट मैम ड्यू डेट तो 15th March है. सो 15 March से 31st March होगा, दैट इज ऑल्सो एडवांस टैक्स, यस. Anything of tax which is deposited for the previous year in the previous year itself is advance tax. So if suppose you missed 15th March the deadline, still till 31st March you can pay the tax and that would be counted as advance tax. Yes, that would not be counted as installment wala tax, but it would be counted as advance tax. Suppose अब आपको 20th March को बड़ा contract आ गया, your estimation got over increased and all that. So pay that tax. Why? Because interest बचेगा. Interest would be saved. Interest would be saved. अब सिर्फ last part which is left is interest segment. कि how do one compute interest under section 234P and C? If you will ask, I will do it if you have that energy to understand it. If not, then you can just give a read. It is more than enough also. So whether you want me to do interest, I will do it. Whatever you will say, we will take it accordingly. अगर आप एडवांस टैक्स आपका इंस्टॉलमेंट इज नॉट करेक्ट, there would be a interest charged for each installment at the rate of 1%. If your total advance tax during the year is less than the 90% of the tax which you should deposit, then interest is charged at 1%. दो इंटरेस्ट लगते हैं. अच्छे से उसको समझाने के लिए it will take 15 minutes. क्विकली समझाती हूँ so that you can have a gist of it. Okay? अच्छे से नहीं, मतलब एकदम डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे. We will quickly take it like that. So two types of interest are charged. One is interest under section 234B and one is interest under section 234C. Interest under section 234B is for total advance tax shortage. Total advance tax shortage matlab you had to deposit an advance tax of 1 lakh. You deposited total advance tax of 1 lakh during the year in all installments total. You deposited 70,000 by 31st of March. I'm not saying by 15th March. I'm saying by 31st of March. तो जो भी shortfall होगा guys, उस पे TDS interest लगेगा at the rate of 1%. So this interest, I am telling you, again and again I'm saying, सुनो, 1st April से 31st March के बीच में if you deposit anything, that is advance tax, right? So I have the time till what? Till 31st March to deposit. So the interest would be calculated after 31st March. So can I say 234B is an interest which is applicable from 1st April? Why? Because यहाँ तक का तो time है मेरे पास to deposit advance tax, right? यहाँ तक में if I did not deposit advance tax, then interest should be applicable. This interest is applicable at the rate of 1% till actual deposit of tax. And this will start from 1st April. You get that? This will start from 1st April. In this case, which is in front of you, these were the installments which were applicable. Okay? But a person only deposited this amount in different installments. 12,000 की जगह 10,000, 37, 24,000, next में 15,000, फिर 24,000, next में 20,000, फिर 26,000. So total advance tax which is deposited was 71,000, whereon on the other hand he had to deposit 82,600. So government को देना था 82,000, but उसने दिया 71,000 total advance tax. Total approach. I'm not going this installment approach, total approach. तो shortfall पे at the rate of 1% लगेगा from 1st April till the time he actually deposit the difference. अब shortfall कितने का है guys? Shortfall is of how much amount? 11,600. 11,600 पे suppose he deposited the tax while filing the return in July. So 1% for 4 months. ठीक है, 1% for 4 months. अभी मैंने ये 74,340 क्यों लिखा है? That is something which we have to understand. Why I have written 74,340? The reason is, guys, 74,340 is written because एक तरीके से नाइंसाफी नहीं है. This is not, it is, ma'am, is it not justified? We are working on estimation. We are working on estimation. Why they are charging interest? हमें जितना समझ आया, we paid it accordingly, ना? So why government is charging interest for him? So government says, okay, we understand that you cannot be 100% correct to the actual tax liability. 100% correct to the actual tax liability कि आपने जितना advance tax deposit कराया on basis of estimation was 100% correct. We understand. If you have deposited up to 90%, we will not charge interest. But if the shortfall is more than that, we will charge interest. So अगर ये person 82,600 का 90% यानी somewhere around 75,000 deposit कर देता during the year, somewhere around 75,000 would have been deposited by the person during the year, then even if there was shortfall, government would have not charged interest under section 234B. So can I say 234B is charged when the shortfall is more than the difference of 90% of the actual tax liability? Correct? When the shortfall is more than or when the advance tax deposited is less than 90% of the actual tax liability, then only 234B would be applicable. If the person has deposited somewhere around 90%, 92% of the actual tax liability, then there is no problem. If the shortfall is more, so agar ye person 75,000 karta, so even if there is a shortfall, I would say 234B is not applicable. But since 90% kitna hota hai? 74,340. He deposited kitna? 71,000. Since the tax which he deposited is less than 90%, then 234B is applicable. And short payment, वो पूरा short payment होगा actual deposit और actual due का. ठीक है? And वो कितने month के लिए लगेगा? From 1st April till the time you actually deposit it. Got it, guys? Quickly, I have covered it. I hope it is clear. TDS and advance tax, TDS TCS जगह don't give me an attack. वो भी हम financial year यानी previous year itself में we do it. 31st March तक yes, at least 234B avoid करने के लिए he should pay 90% of the tax. अब आप बोलोगे कि मैम इससे तो फिर ऐसे पर्सन सीधा सब मार्च में डिपॉजिट कराएगा 90% और 234B से बच जाएगा. Yes, 234B से बच जाएगा. But to make discipline that a person should pay installments also. Person should timely pay installments also. 234C was introduced. 234C was introduced. यहाँ पे क्या है कि if any shortfall is there in the installment which should be versus installment which you paid, तो उस shortfall पे 1% interest लगेगा for 3 months. That is up to next installment. Again, this is a question which is given to you. In this case, installment due was 12,390. A person deposited only 9,000. So 3,390 का shortfall है by 15 June. इस पे 1% लगेगा for 3 months. Why 3 months? Because 15 June का shortfall अब 15 September तक चले. ठीक है. Similarly, total 45% deposit कराना था 37,170 by 15 September. Person deposited total 24,000. तो shortfall कितने का हुआ? 13,170 का. इस पे अगेन 1% फॉर 3 months टिल द टाइम ऑफ नेक्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट. अब आप बोलोगे कि मैम किसी ने अगर 17 सितंबर में डिपॉजिट करा दिया फिर भी 3 months का इंटरेस्ट लगेगा. यस, अगर उस इंस्टॉलमेंट का देयर इज अ शॉर्टफॉल, it would be considered as a shortfall for 3 months, because anything which is deposited, say suppose between 16th of September to 15th of December, that is considered deposited for third installment, not for second installment. So agar if you miss the timeline, interest would be there for each installment shortage for 1%, for 3 months. But March के installment का shortage जो होगा guys, अब suppose 80 to 600 total had to be deposited, but 70,000 were deposited. So 12,600 पे 1% लगेगा for 1 month. Why? Because only for that part of month which is from 15th March to 31st March. Because 31st March खत्म होते ही 1st April से 234B is applicable. That's why 234C last installment only 1% for 1 month. पहली 3 installments 1% for 3 months. Shortfall. So total milake would be my interest under section 234C. So 2 interests are there in case of defaulting payment of advance tax. One is 234C, which is for each installment ka shortfall for 1% for 3 months for first installment and 1% for 1 month for last installment. Okay? And then there is 234B, which comes from 1st April. If you have not deposited 90% of your final tax liability, then on shortfall, 1% from April till actual tax deposit would be applicable. ठीक है, इसका एक एक्सेप्शन है 36% और 12%, दैट आई एम नॉट कवरिंग. सो दिस इज इट फ्रॉम माय साइड. किसी को कोई डाउट है, यू कैन टेक नोट ऑफ इट कि वो कैसे निकला एंड हाउ द अमाउंट केम. I will upload this example chart, don't worry. ये एडवांस टैक्स और इंटरेस्ट वाला आई विल डेफिनेटली अपलोड इट. मोहम्मद 1st अप्रैल नेक्स्ट एडवांस टैक्स अप्रैल 23 से 31 मार्च 24 का डिपॉजिट कराना था मेरे को, प्रीवियस ईयर 23-24 का. अब 31 मार्च 24 तक मैंने 90% नहीं डिपॉजिट किया, तो ये अब से इंटरेस्ट स्टार्ट होगा ना टिल द टाइम आई एक्चुअली डिपॉजिटेड. और उसके बाद सी रिटर्न फाइल करने तक यू हैव टू पे ऑल द टैक्सेस, ईदर इन द फॉर्म ऑफ TDS it has come to the government, or in the form of TCS, or in the form of advance tax, and if not through these routes, then as a self-assessment tax at the end of the at the time of filing the return. Thank you so much, Mohammed Akif. Thank you so much. Madhav, अगर self assessment tax, everyone would pay self assessment tax at the time of assessment. सारा concept of TDS TCS is or advanced taxes, the government want money in the previous year itself. Government does not want to wait for the assessment year. They want all the money in the previous year itself, either through advanced tax or through TDS or through TCS. तो इसलिए वो कैसे encourage होगा? By putting interest. अगर आप advance tax नहीं पे करोगे, interest, because government says कि मेरा पैसा है, you have kept it, give me interest. Ninad, this is very interesting. If a person salaried individual है, उसका every income is computed and taken care by employer, then he has to sit back and relax. He does not have to do any advanced tax calculation. That's why it is encouraged that if you are a salaried person and if you have any other incomes, tell it to your employer. Do not think and worry about advanced tax things. But it is totally your choice. If you don't want to tell as a salaried individual your other income details, you don't want to tell it to your employer, then you have to think, hey, yes, I have to do advanced tax. Thank you so much, Sweta. These sections, chapters are very, very, very important. Please take them important from the exam perspective also and from your personal life perspective also, practical applicability also. Wherever you will earn income, there would be always be TDS, always be advanced tax. So don't leave it. And I'm very happy that we are able to complete it from top to end, pura, along with miscellaneous provisions and everything. Thank you for staying for so long also.